What's the big idea?
Let's do it.
Yes, we are back with another episode of Volleyballogy, and my name is Zuby,
My name's Erik.
and today we're doing a very special episode of. Oh, do we not forget? We forget to put up that camera.
Oh, let me do that real quick while you keep talking.
Yeah, I'll keep talking.
I'm just gonna walk in front of the camera.
That's okay. That's okay. So we are doing a special episode today, in episode number 19, and that is 20 questions with Erik and Zuby, and these are questions that we've made up to ask not only each other in this episode, but potentially also any guests that we may bring on down the road. We are talking about bringing in some people. A lot of people are we're actually getting requests for people who want to be on the show, which is always nice, and obviously we'd love to have them on. So these are like 20 questions that sort of tell stories about what people did in volleyball, and hopefully there's some learning there for you guys listening, and young players listening, and parents and coaches, and also some funniness, some humor, right?
Depending on what I can remember, yeah.
Yeah, so we're going to do this first with our boring lives, just so you can get to know us a little bit better, and then
It's our test run.
yeah, and then if these questions are a huge hit, we'll keep them or we'll edit them, and and if as always, if there's any questions that you think that you'd like to have us ask other people, or I don't want to be arrogant and say that you want us to answer, because who the hell cares about us? But
Yeah.
if there are questions that you want us to include, let us know. Comments on YouTube or email info@volleyballogy.org, and we'll add them. We do like the feedback we're getting. Should we talk about some of the feedback? So one of the things that came up recently in an email to us was that, maybe we should, we joke around about not swearing on the show, and maybe we should stop swearing, because that way young players can listen too.
Yeah. I mean, we all kind of hope they would, right? So if that's
Yeah.
what it takes, then. But the thing is, are we going to slip up? How much are we going to slip
Yes,
up?
yes,
So
yes.
we can try.
We can try,
But
yes.
then if you
I feel like it was forced. I feel like we were trying to swear. I know I was.
So yeah, certain times we definitely were adding in extra ones, but
yeah, and post-editing.
yeah, in post. Can you imagine? I'm
Good.
bleeping it out.
See, that was
Yeah.
good. That was good.
All
That's
right,
good.
well.
Yeah. Well, maybe that'll help, because that may, we would like younger players to listen, and off the top we were thinking more parents and coaches, but come to think of it, in the player pep talks that I do, the one,
Yeah,
there's no swearing, of course, but
yeah, because you're very serious.
I'm very serious.
Yeah, black
very,
and white.
very
too,
serious. Brown, actually.
Oh, I'm in the video.
Oh, the videos are black and white. Yes. Yes, I am not black and white. I am brown. And again, people who only listen to this on Spotify going, "Oh my God, I can't believe he's brown. He sounds so white." And with a name like Zuby, who would
Yeah.
expect him to be foreign?
I would have expected.
I'm not foreign. Anyway, I'm getting defensive. That's one of the questions. All right, so let's get started.
actually defensive, or
I'm getting yes. Can you dig it?
do you get defensive? How defensive do you
Getting
get? Well,
getting diggy.
I can pancake anything. No.
Getting diggy with it. Okay.
Ooh, I have a question.
Yes. Oh, a question. Yeah.
How old were you when you got your first pancake?
Ooh.
Successful pancake.
Like to eat?
No.
On volleyball?
Yeah.
Geez. I remember my late high school.
Your mom was making you do them when you were 5 years old, wasn't she? Pancake.
Hey, what are you doing? Are you doing an ethnic accent?
No,
Oh
I'm
my
just,
God.
no,
Eric,
I said
there's
it was
a
high.
theme in the
It
show.
was high pitched.
It sounded
Look,
ethnic.
I can cut out the swearing, but I can't cut out the
racism. There's a theme in the show that Erik is a racist, and
There is a theme. I think
well,
you're pushing this. I think it's propaganda. You're trying to establish a theme.
There's a conspiracy theory that Erik
Yes,
is,
that's yes.
you know.
They're against me.
Yes, there's this. You even look like you got like your shooting glasses on. He's like,
Yeah.
If you're just listening to this on Spotify or one of the other platforms, and Erik is wearing like these blue light glasses but they look like hunting
gun
glasses.
range. Yeah.
They look like the glasses that some sort of
Some sort of what?
anti-government lone nut. No, just kidding. Let's not get into the conspiracy theories, Erik.
Yeah.
Come on, let's not get political. Okay, let's get to these questions. So these are 20 questions because people are dying to know about us, Eric.
Yeah.
People really want to know about us. Of course, I don't blame you. If I didn't know me, I'd want to know me too. Actually, I do know me, and I still am trying to get to know me.
Questions.
All right, first question. Eric, what is your first contact with the sport of volleyball, or your first memory with the sport of volleyball that you can recall? Earliest memories associated with volleyball.
The first time, grade 7. Yeah.
A little more, please.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure I played it in like elementary school, but
You don't remember?
not really.
So in case you're wondering, I had a mouthful of coffee when I asked that question.
Yeah. I played it then, but like my the most memories, the ones I remember the best was when
No, we said the first memory.
The first.
So you don't have any memory of your
Well, no.
elementary?
I just know that I played it in elementary, but I
you don't
really
recall any of it.
No, I don't really remember like serving or like what the gym looked like or what.
You don't remember what the gym looked
No,
like?
I know what the gym looked like, but I can't remember visually like
How if the ball was round, or
it was.
you don't remember anything from elementary.
I don't even know who the teacher was.
That's true. That's true.
Maybe Miss Johnson, but
Miss Johnson sounds like a fake name.
yeah.
Maybe it was Miss Johnson.
Well, okay, so there's my first memory. It's like sometime in elementary school learning the
but you don't have
underhand serve.
Oh, you do remember?
I'm making this up. No,
no, sorry. Tell me your story. I shouldn't project my good memories onto your bad. So tell me your first real memory, your earliest memory of volleyball. Go. I'll shut up.
Grade 7, playing for. She was the wife of the coach I looked up to the most. Right, she was. So I'm the youngest of 3. Mm-hmm. And this was a middle school, so grade 7 and 8. So by the time I got there, my sister and my brother had already gone through there. And so when I got there, Michelle, do we say her last name?
Yeah, just say a teacher by the name of
Michelle Walters. So
shout out to Michelle Walters.
Yeah, and so when I got there, she gave me the whole, because I was already like at least 1.5 feet taller than her or something like that by that time. So she
I'm sure she'll appreciate that.
She's gonna hate it. Yeah. No, I forget. Maybe she was my core teacher. No, I think she was my math teacher. But she's like, "Oh, Jansen." So then she's also did phys ed, and then she basically just like made me play volleyball. There was no question about
That's
it.
a good first coach to have.
Yeah. So I was like, okay,
she was good.
I already played it, and then I started.
Do you remember anything specific? Like any specific moment?
Okay, what do you mean?
Tryouts, the first time you met her, do you remember that? First day?
No, really.
No?
I just remember like basically what I just told you of how like
vague stories.
Yeah, I don't not good memory. I don't know why, but
all right. Well, I have a crystal clear moment. My first. Can I catch you? Are you done?
Yeah.
Okay, you're done.
So you're not impressed by it anyway.
No, I'm just very nebulous.
I'm not impressed by it.
There may have been a roof. I don't know. Like, the floor may have been
a whole bunch of stuff.
Tiled or wood. I'm not sure.
Volleyball wasn't the most exciting thing at that time in my life.
No. Same with me. This is my first memory of volleyball. So my first memory of volleyball was elementary school. I was in grade 4, and I went to a volleyball tournament at a high school. And I remember it's the high school that is actually the high school I ended up teaching at later on. So, and that we had these gold and black jerseys.
You probably had a very non-exciting childhood. So then when this happened, it was
exactly.
Like,
this was the
everything.
pinnacle. Yeah. Or I'm just, smarter than you.
No, I don't think it has to do with intelligence.
No.
Recall?
Yes. It doesn't?
No, I don't think so.
I think it does. That's what people with bad memories say. No, I'm just kidding. No, but this was it's like literally the only thing. But I remember playing in that tournament, and that was like a fun day. And it was like a tournament. So, you might remember a tournament, No.
No. Where was it? Where'd you play?
It was at Bowmanville High.
Grade 4.
Grade 4. And our school, I think I was in grade 4. Might have been grade 6. You never know, right? But I was definitely...
bad memory.
I remember it because I was the best looking guy on the team.
Oh.
Best looking guy in the tournament, actually, by a mile. I remember even the adult teachers, female teachers, were like,
What'd your hair look like back then?
It was exactly like it is now.
Oh.
My head was the same size,
It didn't
actually.
slope down like a...
No, my head was the exact same size on a much smaller body.
Same size
I had trouble getting up in the morning. I had trouble literally lifting my head off the pillow in the morning. That's why my neck muscles are so strong, like Laird Hamilton, surfing champion. Actually, he's not a surfing champion. He hates competition. Anyway, look him up. Google him. Strong neck, surfer. Yeah. But anyway, so that's my earliest memory playing volleyball in that tournament. I don't remember, like you said, I don't remember practicing it. I don't know when, but I do remember that day because it's kind of cool. And actually, it's tied with the next question. So I'll ask you.
Yeah.
This is why I remember mine. But what's your first positive memory of the game? Like your first happy memory in volleyball?
You're not. So again, pretty vague, but I think it's.
Well, there must be a first happy memory.
Well, there was a point where I really started to. Yeah, I'm sure there was, but I can't say a specific moment in time. But I think there was a.
I think we're gonna have to hypnotise Erik.
You know what?
To get these.
There was
these gosh darn answers.
There was generally a general year in which I really started to like the sport.
Okay.
And I think it's when I was setting, and it would have been around grade 8 or 9.
You were setting.
I started off when I started off in club. I started as a setter. Yeah. Just because I think I had already played the sport a little bit, and because of Michelle, I got into like good volleyball drills at like a not that you would normally expect at a middle school or something.
Right.
You know, my coach was an actual volleyball coach.
Depending on who's listening. I mean, there's schools that get pretty serious pretty early today, but this is back in the day. Yeah.
I'm saying it would have been a smaller percentage, and I got lucky, right? So I think it's just I got put in the setter role just because. Just helps with drills and gameplay overall, right?
Yep.
And I think that's when I really started to like it. And then also at the same time, it's when my hockey experience, because I come from hockey and soccer, or football as everyone else around the world says.
Football.
And then at that time, hockey was starting to get more intense and then more like political and more like, hey, just take this guy out type thing. And weird, like, kind of there's some guys who are just like
it was the era where body checking and taking a guy out was more valued than they realized it was easier than having skill was to teach. Roughing a guy up is easier.
And I really just love the sport of hockey, just mostly for the skating. Like you're
getting off topic. There's a whole other question about that, and you're ruining the show.
So let's say around grade.
What's your
grade
earliest?
Grade 9.
Do you have a specific memory where you're like, oh wow, I love this game?
I just remember playing at Bowmanville High School, that old one.
Oh, the tournament?
No. I specifically remember practicing there and enjoying practicing in that gym.
Oh, you had practice at the old Bowmanville High School gym?
Yeah. Weird. This was for the Wolves. Sorry.
So this is a club memory.
Yes.
So your first memory of school, though, there's nothing in school that you remember before you went to club? Did you go to club the same year?
I started to fall in love with volleyball before I made it to high school.
Okay. So in middle school, that same year when you had Michelle Walters, were you also playing club that same year? Did you start both the same year?
It would have been that year or probably the year after.
So that's probably why your memories are all linked in. So your earliest memory?
Somewhere around grade 7.
So your earliest happy memory in volleyball, specific moment.
Yeah.
Well, that's the show. So you can't pinpoint a happy moment? Because I have one.
I mean,
this is all projection.
Happy moments were was when I got to because in the one place where we had club practices, it was a double gym, right? Mm-hmm. So it was at one point where I guess the younger teams were there first in the night, and then they would leave, and then the older teams got there, and then like the oldest teams would be like at the latest time slot, right? Mm-hmm. And I think one of the parts where I really started to again more or so fall in love with the sport is when I was the one team on the one side, and then the other team was the older males team, and then we got to watch them. And then I got to see really cool volleyball that I wanted to be able to play, right? So then I started to look up to certain players, and I think it was.
So watching those guys in your first year club.
Yeah, it's kind of looking up to other players and wanting to be like them and stuff, right? Mm-hmm. So, and then that would have been, I don't know, around grade 9 or 10 or so.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah. No, that's good. Yeah. So around grade 9 or 10. That's a great story.
Somewhere between 7 and 10.
Well, that's a 3-year span. Okay, so my first positive memory of the game was in that same tournament.
I'm not going to listen to this episode after.
No, yes, you will. No, it's fine. It's interesting. Don't you think there's some interesting things here in terms of how people are and maybe you never looked for moments it sounds like, right? Maybe I was looking so one moment that stood out for me is from that same grade 4, maybe it was grade 6, but I think it was grade 4. That tournament where I was wearing, I didn't even have proper, so my older brother played volleyball, right? And the one 4 years older than me. And so he was pretty good at it. And he was good at high jump and track. And I ended up doing all the things that he did, except I did basketball too and other things he didn't do. But he played a lot. So I think that influenced my memory, your siblings are a lot closer to you in age, right? A couple years up. right? 2 or 3 years above.
Yeah, 6 and 3. years
So I had
away.
a 4-year gap, right, of a brother. So that may have contributed because I looked up to him a little bit more. So when I started playing volleyball, maybe that's why I remember it more. And then this play. So this in this tournament, I remember there was a ball that came over and it was like far away from me. I think I was standing in one, and I remember diving. Because it's when you're playing crappy volleyball, right?
Yeah.
Out of position. No such thing as positions. You're just sitting there.
Yeah,
And I
standing.
dove and got the ball over, right, which you're not supposed to do.
Yeah.
And we got the point, and I remember the crowd cheering and everybody cheering. I was like, "Oh my god, this is fun!" Like that whole positive feedback thing, right? And so that's my memory where I was like, "Oh, I can do things that other people can't do." And and I'm getting some confidence from doing it. And people are cheering, so it's like I'm going to do this more.
Okay, yeah.
that's the moment I have.
But what other sports?
I believe I may have been wearing jeans as well.
it's highly likely. I mean,
Elementary school,
jeans back then would have been roomier, so
they're stretchy
they probably weren't stretchy. They were just looser and baggier.
Well, my jeans were cheap.
Pretty sure Levi's back then did not have stretch.
Who said I was wearing Levi's? Remember, I was the child of immigrants, right? So immigrants,
polyester.
Immigrants barely knew I had a tournament that day, and
denim color was sprayed on, right?
Yes, I was like the Halloween costume from hell. That's who I was.
What other sports did you play growing up? Because
everything. So I was like a soccer player, big time, and
you must have had positive moments in that sport as well, right?
Soccer was So this is the next question. So the next question is, when did you pick volleyball? Because it implies over other sports.
Because after listening to you talk about that moment, like those moments, I had those in hockey,
and I had mine in soccer. Like I had very vivid.
I have
volleyball. Like that was crap. Volleyball I was playing, right?
Yeah,
so
volleyball was like a side thing. I never thought
agreed
it was going to be something I would compete in, right?
I just knew I wanted to play volleyball more in school at the time.
Yeah.
Outside of school was all soccer for me.
Yeah.
But yours was hockey. So when did you end up picking volleyball over hockey?
I think it was grade 9. No, I think it was a little bit later. It's when there was a certain point in club hockey. So
you were like 14 to 25.
Yeah. No, I'm pretty sure it was
somewhere in there.
Okay, it's 13 or 14. I don't know. It just got to that point where it was like a higher level club hockey, and it was very much what we were just saying, like political. My job was to take guys out and pretty much,
Oh yeah, you were like a goon.
I was a defenseman. I was big.
Oh, so they wanted you to hit guys. Yeah, the era of Chris.
Well, it wasn't that bad, but it was already getting in that direction.
Yeah.
Right? And then my coach, his son was on the team, and he was just like a major. I was gonna say diva. Can I say diva? Yeah.
You can say diva.
Yeah, and that's what he was. And this kid would throw tantrums all the time, and so it was very unbalanced in that regard, and
that's crappy.
Yeah,
that's sort of what we're doing here, like in volleyball, right? Like the problem in volleyball is similar. The coaching can really push a kid away.
And it was just my skating talent that got me that far. I wasn't phenomenal at other stuff. Mm-hmm. But so then and then I got bullied.
Yes, I remember you said early in the show. Yeah, there's another episode where you talk about that. I
played club and then went back to house league, and then house league I got bullied, and then it was just you know what? My attention lessened and went more to volleyball,
and the culture of hockey was, at the time, bullying wasn't really on the radar as something that people needed to address or work on, and it was very prevalent in a lot of sports, but hockey is one of the big ones.
Yeah, I don't know why. I mean, there's more.
Well, the nature of the sport too is physical, overpowering, bullying, and
it was
intimidation was a big part, right? Some of the best teams in the 90s were intimidating physical teams, not high skilled, right?
Playing on the ice, actually, I remember there being a lot of very serious trash talk between teams, and when it was a playoff game, it was pretty serious. It was you had to be, you kind of had to be like that.
Yeah.
Depending on the team, but there were certain teams that were really, they would try to take you out, just
Well, and I could tell, from an organization, I remember what was happening in hockey because I was a hockey fan too, and the era of Gretzky was not ending, but it was
when the stop signs showed up on the jerseys.
Yes, stop signs on the back of the jersey so people wouldn't crash into boards. But what was big was so Canada and the States were having a hard time, especially Canada, competing with the Russian skill and the American speed. So
remember Bure, the so fast.
Yes, Bure and Mike Modano from the U.S. And I mean, we might be boring people, but it's interesting because it's part of the story why we left. So a lot of Canadian hockey was focusing on
Physicality.
so
Yeah.
you can body check, knock those guys off the puck rather than compete with them on skill. And it was kind of like people were like, "What are you talking about? We have skill too," and that was the era. So speaking like this is the volleyball connection. That was the era where the small hockey players in Canada were getting cut regardless of how skilled they were, and they were taking all the big players. That's probably what you got caught up in as a defenseman too.
Yeah.
All the memo came down from the top, as it has in volleyball.
Oh,
Go
interesting.
tall, go tall,
Go
go
tall,
tall,
yeah.
and all the small guys were like, "What the hell?" And then it
You
wasn't
may
until
put weight on, become a big
yes,
dude.
it wasn't until smaller American guys like Phil Kessel
Yeah.
and in Canada Sidney Crosby were like, "Hey,
Yeah.
small guys have skill too, and North Americans have skill
Fleury.
too."
Wasn't Fleury?
Fleury, but he was back in the 80s, right? Fleury was in the
Oh, is
80s.
he that? far
Yeah,
back?
he's from the late 80s.
Oh,
so
shit.
that's why he didn't. Oh, you just swore. Cut, edit.
Schnikes.
Sorry, kids. Just kidding. Schnikes. No, but that was probably what you got caught up in. They saw a big guy like you, and they're like, make him a Chris
Yeah.
Pronger, right?
Yeah.
Body check them.
Yeah. Pronger.
So hockey tried to go big, and volleyball did too. But the good news is for parents who are listening, is that the pendulum does swing back. At least in hockey, it did. It went
Yeah.
small again. Now, if you go turn on a hockey game, the guys are small, and the game is fast. And they eventually made it so the big guys became dinosaurs, right?
Yeah.
They had to retire early because they couldn't keep up with the speed. So hopefully in volleyball, like we're thinking, like Japan might help with this because like there's some other. You saw who's Japan's left side? Not you got.
Ishikawa and Nishida. Ishikawa is the captain.
Yeah, but have you seen their left side now? Who just debuted this year?
No.
They have another small player.
Maybe I have.
Who's a left side who is dynamite. He's
Really,
the same
eh?
height as Nishida. And he's a righty, and he does it all. I think the famous
wild.
highlight that went around this year was him, that jump, that pipe attack where the pipe sets it.
okay.
That was him.
Because Nishida's a lefty.
Nishida's the lefty.
Yeah.
I think some
I
of
did-
the highlights
I
that
kept
you're
forgetting
seeing.
Nishida is a lefty.
Well, I think some of the highlights that we're seeing where you think that's Nishida playing left side for some, it's him. It's this other guy who looks a little like him, and he's the same height, similar build. So look out for them because they just added another short guy who's definitely about barely 6. So I'm hoping volleyball. The point of this is like Eric got caught up in the tall hockey world, and that sort of changed the rough physicality. A lot of short volleyball players are finding the same thing. And we're hoping that some of the teams that are maybe going with a more honest lineup, not just like looking at the best 6, regardless of height. They can be tall, sure, but take the best 6, and hopefully that comes back in volleyball. We're off topic. So you picked volleyball around grade 9 or 10. Yeah, for me too, because I was a soccer guy. I was like a serious soccer guy.
Yeah.
Actually, one of my best friends on my rep soccer team. So we were playing, I guess, a house league soccer, which was still good soccer. And then we all got picked on a select team, and that's where I met actually one of the best volleyball friends, like Dustin, long time. We met on that rep soccer team. And that's
when you met.
Yeah, we were both rep players as kids, and then it's funny how we met up years later as volleyball guys, and but so I was playing rep soccer, and then I remember in high school,
I had that with Stu too.
Yeah,
we played soccer together.
Yes, I mean that's where like most kids, even in the States, right? Like most kids started playing soccer. It's kind of funny that North American soccer hasn't been that strong because the numbers are here, but we all just choose something else.
Yeah,
later, so
it's the preliminary sport. It's good for your ankles too.
It's good for ankles, good for reading.
Yeah.
So defenders and beach and
Endurance.
indoor. Like I think soccer really helps you become a defender in volleyball because you're always reading what the body's doing, not
position.
the ball, right?
Yeah.
They tell you don't look at the ball, look at what the leg's doing and the chest.
Major prediction,
Yeah, so that really helps. I think that helped me go into beach and everything. But so I picked it in, I think it was grade 9 because volleyball and soccer were at the same time. And I mean, I don't want to say stupidly chose volleyball, but I think I had a better...
Well, you can play both those at the same time, right? Because the seasons are different.
I think in the fall, boys volleyball happened at the same time as boys soccer when I was in school.
Ending.
Yeah, you couldn't do both. I remember I had to pick one.
I think our house league ended at the end of summer.
I think they changed it. I think it used to. Boys soccer was in September,
because
and volleyball was in September too when I went.
Yeah.
So for us, I had to pick. And I picked volleyball. But, looking back, I mean, soccer could have been like one of my best friends.
Yeah.
He went Division I in the States on a scholarship for soccer because he stayed in.
That's
and
crazy.
we were both like right there.
Yeah.
But then again, I mean, I'm making a living off volleyball too. That's what I do. So worked out okay.
It definitely did.
Well, it did. I guess so. Yeah. But I still think I look at Messi and I go, I think I was better than Messi.
Man.
I was a center midfielder. If it weren't for this damn knee injury.
See, it's another weird thing. I was a center midfielder.
Yeah, interesting, eh? And then you went into setting in volleyball. That makes sense. And I had setting inclinations, setting tendencies.
You just hit too hard, so obviously.
They just were like, no chance. And it was the thudding sound of my sets, so because I set with the back of my hands. Okay, so we both picked it around the grade 9, 10 area. That's sort of where I went into volleyball. It also helped that we had a really fun high school group of guys.
Yeah.
Too. So my team was like a bunch of friends. And I had kind of fallen out of the soccer world by then too, because I remember my dad didn't let me play soccer because of my marks. He said, okay, let's play soccer because your marks were bad. And he actually just recently apologized to me for this. He
really?
Said, he said, I shouldn't have done that. I said, Dad, you know what? You did what you had to do. Where you came from, education's a big thing.
He just recently apologized.
Well, you know what's funny? Because his dad did that to him. His dad, with his marks, were not good. He was goofing around in school, so his dad stopped him from playing soccer. My dad was a really good soccer player, apparently, right? He ended up playing varsity soccer on his university team too back home. But so he recently said that I shouldn't have done that. I said, but Dad, don't regret it. I mean, you did what you. I mean, I was goofing around. I wasn't trying. So you took what I loved and said, listen, you warned me, and I didn't do it. So I said, it's not like I quit. Like I could have went back into it, but I did choose volleyball. Then I had another weird thing where, speaking of coaches, right? So I was in grade 7 at this school. And me and a few other guys were the rep on this elite rep team that traveled around the whole province, right? And I remember this coach in grade 7, he cut me from the soccer team and all the other guys that played soccer. And I was like, I don't want to say
you're gonna get into the race thing.
Well, no, not necessarily. No, but I guess I can tell you the whole story. So I was like, this guy was like a military guy, right? And so he cut me from the team. I was like, okay, that's weird, whatever. And all my friends went to the coach and they're like, why do you, he's like one of our best players. And so that was weird. I don't think I played soccer grade 7 on the school team, or maybe I did play. Maybe I was a goalie.
Wait, this was the school team you're talking about?
Yeah, the school team. So I was already on the rep team, like as a center midfielder, like starting center midfielder. And maybe in grade 7 I did play goalie. I don't know. I'm getting mixed up. But anyway, maybe it was the grade 8 team.
Okay, one of these,
Sorry.
whatever.
Well, grade 8, he cut me, and it was very weird. And then the volleyball team. Okay, I was on the volleyball team in grade 7. We had a good coach, Mrs. Knapp. She was my first coach that we'll talk about her later. But,
I know who she is.
Yeah, she was a volleyball coach, and she's good. She taught us good forearm pass technique and all that stuff.
Yeah. And
so I was on the team with her, and she was great. And then
you're not going to tell me you get cut by her the next year.
No, grade 8, same soccer coach.
He's coaching the volleyball team.
Coaching the volleyball team. He kicks me out of practice because I was talking. Okay, and then he doesn't put me on the team. And my friends again go like, he's like one of our best players. Like, why can you not put him on the team, whatever? And he was like, no, whatever. And I think maybe they got me on the team, but it was like a fight.
Okay.
And then there's another story. Same guy, basketball tryouts. Okay. Again, I'm getting really good. Grade 8 was an interesting year for me because I went from like being okay at basketball to getting really good at basketball. Dribbling and stuff got really good for some reason. I was watching NBA stuff. And
yeah, you're into it. Yeah.
So then this guy is coaching the basketball team, and so there's this thing after school. There's this practice after school where me and 2 other guys are the last ones to get picked up. I was always the last one to get picked up, right? And there's chocolate milk in the staff room fridge, and we go in there, we're goofing around, and I think we stole a chocolate milk or something, and we were all drinking it and laughing our butts off. Stupid thing, right?
Yeah.
So then, but we're not even the primary. Like, it wasn't me that stole it. It was another kid that stole it, and I didn't tell on them, right? And we were all laughing about it. And then, so this guy finds out, asks us about the milk, and then he puts one guy on the team, takes the other 2, and says, yeah, you guys aren't on the team or whatever because you were a part of this, and I'm one of them. And then the other guy gets on the team as a manager, and I'm just like not on the team. And it's like very weird that it was the same guy all the way through this. Anyway, this is a coach and teacher that I found out years later that a lot of people hated this guy. And my dad told me also that he had, like, all of my siblings had problems with his marks too. So small town, military guy, brown kids. I'm not the one to say that, but it was interesting. And I also got a D from him. I also got a D from him in the subject. Me and Meech actually got D's from him in one of the courses he taught. That was very weird.
Mind you, back then, even when I was there, Curtis High School was
This was
predominantly white.
Yeah, and I never had a problem my whole life with anybody really that I knew of. But this one was a little bit weird because I was very athletic. I was like one of the best athletes. Like I came out of my elementary school athlete of the year.
Yeah,
still worked hard. But I had a few problems actually when I think
rep player at a high school tryout.
Yeah. And not just a rep player, but I was like, pretty good.
Team
So that was interesting. Anyway, this is like therapy. I didn't even remember all this. I think I'm gonna go cry in the bathroom. Anyway, so we both picked volleyball around the same time. Most important coach in your volleyball life and why?
Yeah, so it's Michelle. Well, Michelle and Hugh. I can't. I'm not gonna do. Yeah, because Michelle really got me into the sport, and is a phenomenal coach. And then just her husband Hugh, just his he taught me that motivation, the intensity of the sport. It's and it worked. What he got us to do or motivated us to try and do. It really worked, right? So
Michelle and Hugh Walters, right?
Yeah,
couple, very very good. Yeah, I worked with Hugh, and I just same thing. Just listening to him as a fellow coach made me a better coach. Yeah, just the way he talked to athletes was very honest and pumped you up, right? He just motivated.
That's what it was. It wasn't
because he was a baseball guy.
Yeah,
came into volleyball.
He just taught you, he kind of taught you, especially as a young guy, we have that sense of aggression, that unbridled, aggression that you can't really, and so you're blasting balls, whatever, and you're not getting the desired result, right? So it kind of helped us control that. And then that's what felt good about the sport was, hitting the ball, getting those blocks, or everything about the sport. So I just improved a lot playing with them. Mm-hmm. And I saw how other players that I admired looked up to them and respected them. Mm-hmm. So, and that goes back to what I was saying earlier, how I remember first watching the older team, and then eventually got to play up with them on many tournaments or practices and stuff like that. So it was a whole they kind of, they had a reputation or a community or whatever. Yeah. But so, yeah.
Yeah, it was a good culture there too at that club. Everybody was.
Everybody
was on board, and passionate, good coaches, and a small club, and did a lot of good things. Great history of producing winners.
Women's side was good too.
Yeah, guys and girls teams were really good.
Yeah.
And I was a young coach. That was my first real coaching gig when I was 20. I guess I must have been 24 when I started coaching there.
Well, then what got you into coaching?
That's not on my list. So what got me into coaching was Michelle.
Is it?
Same answer, yeah.
That's
Michelle.
funny.
So I was coaching high school. So
was she at that high school?
So no. So I coached against her. So I should go. So my first I coached in Columbia first. So after I was actually when I was in university, I started coaching. Actually, I coached at the summer camps, Durham College camps, and so during my summer jobs, where I was coaching. Summers here, but while I was in university, we're coaching university things.
I used to go to those camps.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Were you there?
Yeah, a lot of them. Remember the old beach courts in the parking lot? It's not a parking lot.
Okay, so yes. So I wonder if you were there when I was there.
Probably.
Because you have a bad memory.
Yeah.
Do you remember a really good-looking brown guy coaching you? Were you there when Prada was there?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I worked with Prada. Would hire me to do that. He was the head coach, and he would hire me every summer. So were you there when Kyle Thomas was there and Riley? Because Riley McAllister.
I don't know.
Riley was there when I was there, and Kyle Thompson.
They're a few years younger than me, right?
Golding. Oh, maybe. Are they?
Yeah.
Okay, then maybe you weren't there.
Maybe about 3.
Because you probably went there maybe when I went to Columbia.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, so I went to South America, and I coached volleyball there while I played. We had to coach. We coached the school I taught there, and I coached the school. It was pretty cool, actually. It was really neat. We went to volleyball by national games. Met some university players that from Canada down there too. That was pretty cool.
Very cool.
That were teaching in a different city and coaching as well. So that was fun. And then had them over to play with us. It was good. We brought their team, came to visit us, or they came. The teachers came and visit us, and played volleyball there with a guy on my team who got me playing in Columbia. He was on the provincial team down there as a teenager, and he was a playing on this men's team in Barranquilla, and so that's how I got playing down there. It was awesome. And then so I started coaching there, well, in the summers, and then in Colombia as a teacher and player, and then in Canada I started coaching high school. And then my first real coaching stuff up here was when I coached against Michelle in high school, and she saw, oh, you know what you're doing. Do you want to coach club? Because that's what they were desperate. It's hard to find club coaches and people who knew. So you could tell I was running a system.
You would have stuck out.
Yeah, that's what it was. You can always tell, like, if I see a new coach, I'm like, okay, that coach is the real deal, or that coach is done. Like, especially in school volleyball, right? Where we are, school volleyball is not as strong as club volleyball. So I know in some areas where people are listening, it's totally reverse. Yeah. So then she sort of asked me if I wanted to coach club, and I felt honored because back then it was like a real compliment to coach club. Today it's a little less so. People think of it as but they do let anybody do it now. Back then they didn't let anybody just do it. It was a smaller numbers than it is today, especially on the guy side.
Damn, man. Yeah, it really. Yeah. We were lucky.
So we're jumping ahead of ourselves. So your most important coach was Michelle and Hugh. Yeah. Probably the couple of them. And then for me, it was probably, I think Mrs. Knapp was my first volleyball coach, and she was she taught us the basics really well. Yeah. And she really, again, we had a good group, so that's when I really fell in love with volleyball. And it's hard for me to pick because I've had so many, not even good coaches like who knew the game, but just nice coaches all the way through. Even our high school coaches who didn't know anything. And then by the end, I had a good coach who was a volleyball. He wasn't a volleyball guy yet. He was a first-year teacher, Prada. Yeah. Who he was a football guy, so he brought that, like Hugh for you. He brought that good athletic background. Yep. And he made us love it, and he knew what it meant to win and lose, and he knew when we were not motivated, or he knew how to motivate us, give us the pep talks. Yep. And then I watched him learn volleyball and become a great volleyball coach. Even though, and then he was athletic, so he became a decent player too. Like he could scrimmage with the guys. Remember that?
Interesting, eh? Like how he wasn't necessarily a volleyball guy, but he was an athlete, and he was able to.
And he was open minded. Like same with Hugh, right? Like these guys are willing to learn. That's the difference between, like, if you're not a volleyball person and you become a coach, then you really need to understand and identify who knows more than you and be open to that. Like even him as a coach, like, so John Prada was his name, and he great guy, and he listened to us a lot. Like he knew that we played more. And so he didn't have the ego, and he would still discipline us, and he was clearly in charge. Like we never fought over playing time. Like I told you that, like, Meech was on that team with me too, and we had a lot of good players, but he knew about playing time, fairness. He would never sit a guy forever. So we never had those fights. He'd make it a joke if someone was benched, or not benched, but not starting, right? Like he'd tease the left sides because he had too many left sides, like every team. And he would just make that joke, like, or like if someone's playing really well, he's like, hope he doesn't play too well. You're never gonna get back out there, dude. Yeah, it's just a good attitude. So,
like, talking about these, because I had these same coaches. Like, how can I not fall in love with the sport compared to, soccer was pretty much a seasonal thing. I played it in high school as well, but I don't know. But like volleyball was like almost all year round, and then just these great like teachers who were coaches at the same time, like.
Yeah, and the memories of high school ball.
Really positive, really fun, really fun.
I think club less so, right? Like club was fun, but not like the high school teams.
High school was fun. Yeah. Because we even did, I'm pretty sure, we would go to Ottawa and do this reverse tournament.
Yes.
It was reverse. I'm like, it couldn't have been co-ed because that's not competitive.
No, and they had the rules about have to have every gender touch the ball or something in a rally.
Yeah, because that was a crazy fun tournament.
Yeah. Those co-ed tournaments at the end of school years. If your kid is playing volleyball, if your school is lucky enough to have a co-ed team or a co-ed tournament at the end, that's a good time because all the volleyball players get together. I'm sure a lot of bad things happen when genders mix. Okay, so most important coach, I think we said that. I guess if I were to pick one, Mrs. Knapp, just because she was the first real coach for me, and you had the Walters. No names for this next one. We're on question number 5, but worst coach and why. So you don't have to name the place, and you don't have to name the person, but maybe you can name why that coach maybe was the worst. Do we skip? Do we not do this one?
No. It was I don't know.
I think we can just say what qualities did that coach have?
Yeah. Why don't we do that?
It's funny how we laugh because everybody has like a clear vision in their head of.
Well, we were talking about fun environment and stuff, right? So this one coach, the environment wasn't fun. It was very. The weird thing is, it felt very serious, but it didn't feel very serious because there was no progression, right? If something's going to be that frank and, intense or whatever. But the intensity was basically, it's kind of like studying for a chemistry exam. It's just all or not chemistry, but something more mundane where you can just remember it by rote.
Oh, like facts.
Yeah, it felt like,
type.
yeah, because it was very repetitive and it wasn't very open-minded. It wasn't really being aware of the faults or whatever that maybe that may be falling on the coach's plate, right? Like, oh, this drill isn't working. They're not trying hard enough. They're not in the moment. Blah blah blah. Just more reps of the same drill, right?
Yes.
So
there was ego. There was ego involved, right? In that situation.
I don't know. It's funny because I'm always usually trying to put myself in the shoes of the person that does the thing that I don't understand, right? Mm-hmm. But in there, with them, I couldn't really figure it out. I don't know what it was. It was mostly just trying to like not lose my shit on them.
Oh, you just swore again.
Oh,
jeez.
That's not really a swear word.
Yeah, Eric.
Yeah,
it is a swear word.
I guess it is a swear word. Okay, I'm sorry.
Poor little kids are going to be asking their mom and dad, what does this mean? And then, jeez, it's jeepers. Anyway, that's okay. But I think, so what I mean by the ego involved is the coach that is like, if like you said, the drill's not working and they just bear down on it, that's a sign of it. Like a secure coach will change and flex or ask players, especially at that level, because I think this is a varsity experience, if I'm not mistaken, that you're talking about. And so, the varsity coach should be able to, any coach should be able to know their strengths and weaknesses. I remember too, like just sort of as an outside observer seeing that situation, and it was like fake authority, right? Like it was like they were talking tough and acting tough, but there was no hard work of following consistent rules. Yeah. Right? Remember we talked about toxic culture.
Yeah,
comes when a coach doesn't have firm rules.
And a toxic culture did end up taking place in there a little bit.
It always does, because if there's no consistent rules, I don't care if you're a clipboard breaker and a screamer, if you don't have consistent rules, then you're just going through the motions. You're pretending you're an intense coach. You're playing the part of what you see on TV versus, It
was funny. I was about to say my other brown friend.
So you just say...
No.
I can't believe you said that. I can't believe you said that on the air. You just said that.
I don't mean to like my other friend.
Oh boy.
I have
So we're in a category, and there's two of us. That's funny you say that, Zuby, because my other foreign friend, my other friend from brown, my other friend from faraway lands,
he had a funny experience in varsity.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't a club. He didn't come from club volleyball. He was just an athlete. And
is this the same guy you work with?
No, he's not. No, that's not volleyball.
No, okay, I didn't think so.
Anyways, so he tries out.
So you do have more than.
He tries out. He gets on the varsity team. This is a good. It's a Western varsity team.
Western is in Western culture?
No, Western.
The name of the university. Okay.
Western Conference.
Oh, Western Conference. Okay. Gotcha. Yes.
Anyways, he gets on there. He gets to play lib, and like this coach was racist, like 100%. But very good discipline structure, right? And they adhered to it, and they actually, and the coach actually comes from him and his brothers were pretty good volleyball players, but. They were a very good team every time in that.
So the coach was a good volleyball player?
The coach was a good volleyball player.
Okay.
Yeah, but he's pretty.
So this isn't a team.
Pretty blatantly racist as well. Okay. He was like the only brown guy on a team.
Okay. Yeah. And the coach was very mean to him?
Well, he's just like. No. I mean,
how do you know the coach was racist? Just out of curiosity.
Well,
and not that it's hard to tell sometimes.
He would be mean to him. But
did he say things to him?
Ooh. Yeah.
Yikes.
But like, not like, I guess if there was a scale, it wouldn't be like too bad. Like obviously he respected him because he still brings him on his team and treats him like everyone else, where he has to do equal punishment. He didn't make him do like
extra things,
extra
so how did he know? Just out of curiosity, how did he know?
Yeah, it was mostly like slurs and shit.
Oh, you just swore again.
Oh, well,
you were gonna swear again.
I almost dropped it. Okay.
Like, watch. So here's what you do. You just say like, all right, like slurs and stuff.
Okay.
That's how you do.
Okay.
Or slurs and crap.
You
could say crap. You say crap.
A tough word.
I know.
Crap.
I don't know. Maybe we should just be ourselves. I don't know.
Well, I mean, maybe
Maybe we'll
more
become
practice.
Yeah,
Next episode it'll be
better. Yeah, maybe we'll be
the players aren't going to care about this one anyways.
But maybe if the parents tell their kids not to listen to it, then we'll become like the forbidden fruit, the bad boys of volleyball. Is that what you're going for? With your crazy hunter glasses? That's cabin in the woods type stuff. And even with the headphones, you look like you're at a shooting range. That's what it is.
Yeah. That's what it is. Yeah, that is.
He has the headphones on and these glasses, and he looks like he's at a shooting range. That's what that is.
I think these are that.
And he's a white bearded guy, which I'm not racist though.
Yeah, right.
Because remember,
you have other white friends.
Visible minorities can't be racist. Sorry.
I don't
get political. Yeah. Anyway, no, we most certainly can.
Majorly off topic. Well,
no, you were talking about a really bad coaching experience.
Yeah.
My bad coach, no names. My coach, same thing, bad culture.
I don't even know who yours is.
Yeah, you wouldn't know. This is before you were born. But this is a coach that was, after high school life. And so this coach was buddy with players, and just like I got my playing time, but it was like there was no understanding of like rookies versus seniors and what you do to help rookies play better or younger players play better, and just like party too much with the captain. And was, you know what I mean? The same thing. No consistency of rules. If somebody else did something, it was different than if the captain did it. And so that was it. It wasn't overly bad, to be fair. Like I haven't had a nightmare scenario other than that coach that I described in middle school that was like borderline kind of suspicious about why I was not making all these teams. It might have been maybe I was a goof too. Sometimes I do look at that. Like, was I cocky? Did I come off as arrogant? I don't think I was, but there are some people who would disagree and say that it was, I'm sure.
Well, I mean, it's kind of good that you didn't have a terrible.
Yes.
You don't have a terrible story.
Yes, not terrible. Or like, I mean, some people frame their lives in certain ways. Like I could have looked at that grade 8 experience and been like, that guy ruined my life. I think I see things differently when they happen to me. Like, I mean, when bad things happen to me, I think I do frame them differently than most people. Like we talked about, we talk about on the show, like what I tell my kids, you have an unfair coach in a horrible situation. Yeah, it can be a positive. And I don't mean it's not just smoke and mirrors. I think it really is. Like it builds character. I remember when I was doing a teaching placement, I felt like I had like it's kind of like a coach, right? This was a teaching coach, and they gave me a really bad review, and they didn't tell me about it. They just gave it to the school. They're supposed to have a conversation with me, and so that was interesting because I remember the university was like I was blindsided by the bad review too. Like it was like, but there were a couple comments in there. Like
when they found out that you were blindsided, were they upset that the teacher didn't do due process?
They didn't like that. It was like they were a little suspect of why that happened, and it's funny that I never really think about these things at all. But like it's there, and so but I still took from the guy that. There were some comments about that, I was thought it was too easy. I think there was a weird thing in that place. I remember he also taught phys ed to the classes. And so we would go play sports, right, as part of the phys ed thing. And I remember like he didn't like the fact that the boys in that placement really thought I was really cool. Yeah. Right? 'Cause I was a varsity athlete. And then so when I literally remember this. So
it's funny as it's coming up. This is therapy podcast.
But insecure coaches or insecure people, right? I swear to God, this guy, we'd be playing basketball in phys ed class, and I would go do some funky layups or pass the, fun, and the kids loved it, and he liked fancy, so it wasn't like he thought I was being arrogant or anything. I swear to God, okay, I'm in university. This guy's in his 40s. I'm like 20. He hits a shot and stares me down while he's backpedaling, while he's scoring on these 12-year-olds. It was like.
Yeah, you're kidding me.
No, I swear to God.
And then you're blindsided again. You're just like,
I'm just like, I can't believe that he's doing this. Anyway,
I just get stared down by this.
So I think there was some weirdness going on, and but anyway, I won't name him. But he and then he blindsided with this report too, and it was very weird. And I was, but I still took from that. That you know what I took from that. I need to work harder because because in fairness to him, I probably was coasting on my youth and charm, and you don't
Well,
learn
you
how
said
hard
you were a
is.
little like that even into your early teaching years, right? You were
Yeah.
a little more. I think you said this before. I mean, it's your first year's coaching or whatever. You were.
What are you trying to say?
No, you're just being like a little. I don't know, like not unprofessional, but
Insecure.
like unrefined coaching skills where you you were still a young athlete at the same time, right? So like trying to find that
Growing
difference
up.
difference between that and then being a role model.
Yes,
If you're
or like where things don't come easy. Because I think, in fairness, like I think I had this
where
notion
things don't come easy.
things were easy for me.
Yeah.
And so this was the first. Like I don't agree with his, because I like I said, I had placements before and after that were glowing, but I did learn from him that be undeniable, like we tell athletes. So be undeniable. So I made a point of working harder, because I could say, you know what, I wasn't working as hard as I could have.
Right.
So I took from that, be undeniable. And that's what I always do. Whenever there's someone, unjust or something's unfair or I don't agree with it, there is something in there, right? They usually take a kernel of something and they, like this person's not doing as much in the lesson planning, or, as a coach, you're not doing as much, or an athlete, you're not doing as much. So then if you try to be undeniable and say, okay, you know what, I'm just going to work my butt off.
Which is different than just giving them what they want, right? So
it's making sure that nobody can say this about you again. And if they do, that's still okay.
Because you could have been a passive kiss ass, which would have got you a better mark, or you'd choose the harder one, which is be undeniable.
Well, I can be honest with myself too and say, you know what, I could have worked harder.
Yeah.
Bottom line, that's it. I could have worked harder, so I did. And then the other lesson is, like, if you are doing all those things and something happens again, then you can sort of rest easy, knowing that this maybe is something outside of your control, but there's still something you can get from it.
Yeah.
And that is that you're learning something about the world.
Yeah.
That the world is not fair.
That could be your boss.
It could be, and it will be.
Yeah,
like if it's not happening, it's going to move into a different setting, but it's just going to happen. Like, I don't think there's anybody listening. Well, sorry, full stop. I don't think there's anybody listening, but no, I don't think there's anybody listening who hasn't had something super unfair happen to them or their kid or whatever, right? So either you can go through life and never have that happen, and then it happens when you're 35 and you can't handle it and you have like a breakdown, or you get it out of the way early. Like, looking back, I always see these stupid, unfair things as good things. Even that coach in grade 8, good, helpful, right? Prepared me for later. And that's probably why, like, not to get too, lesson Oprah-ish, but the idea is that, like, when these bad things happen to me, like, so this is this. Full disclosure, when we were small, my parents had to move out of a town because of racism. That's why we left the town we were born in, because of racism. My brothers were getting attacked for walking down the street. So my dad was like, we're moving out far away. And it's funny because we moved to small, rural Whiteville, and the racism stopped because we were not a threat. You know what I mean? Yeah. In cities, people get nervous when numbers get high of difference. And no matter where you are.
They go after people.
This happens in other countries too. Like, so if you're a white family living in a brown or black neighborhood, you might have the same similar racism at you, right? Like, it's not specific. It's just whoever's the minority, no matter whether they're visible, white, religious, whatever. So maybe that framed, like, that, those early experiences probably made me not even think of these other things as, potentially racist. And I found it was useless to even think.
Or it already showed you that you have, you can accept it, and then you can, like, be, like, as you said, become undeniable, look past it, accept it for what it is. You don't have control over it, and just keep working on yourself. Or you can choose to be offended by it and take a grudge for the rest of your life. But I think especially as a kid, where that's less likely to happen, but as an adult, like, grudges and slights are more likely to happen. You know what I mean? Like,
or you're more aware of them,
taking things personally. Yeah. Like, as a kid, like, the world is still such a vast open place that, like, whatever, someone was rude to you. Yeah. You're
less likely to know how the world works as a kid too. Like, it might happen to kids, but they don't know that it's like I did. I didn't even think about this stuff.
They don't even care to understand why either. They just move on because then they can go do the next thing.
Yes, and that's sort of what we try to get to as adults. We try to get to that bounce up again and go. Yeah. Whereas things can linger as adults. So I think there's a lesson in there. Like, some of these bad coaches. It's funny that you started laughing and I had the story and again brought it into another thing, because there's. again, it sort of goes back to our whole thesis of this show sometimes, that yes, it's horrible when things happen like this, but there's so many, that's the only time you learn. You don't learn from great things necessarily. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
like you learn from adversity, you learn life skills from, if everything in your life was smooth and wonderful, I think that person would have not a lot of knowledge. Ignorance, right? They would literally be ignorant of things. And this is what people talk about. People who have the easier in life tend not to be aware of these things. And they look at people who do and they're like, what are you talking about?
And ignorant isn't like an insult. It just literally means that, like, you know, they just
Literally,
are not aware of these other,
Yeah, if you think about it, ignorance is kind of a bad word because it implies that they're ignoring. They're it should be maybe, I mean, the expression ignorance
naivety.
Is naive. Yeah, naive is a better word. Yeah. They're naive to it.
Yeah, because ignorance is willful.
Rooted in ignore, right?
Yeah.
Interesting. Unless we misuse the word ignore, but
well,
anyway.
whenever no one ever says you're ignorant because they're guaranteed to get offended.
Yeah.
You don't hear it really used.
Yeah, ignorant is an insult. Right?
Yeah.
Big time insult. All right, here we go. We're going to go on to something more positive now. Now that Eric's brought us all down.
Yeah.
Jeez,
Okay,
relax.
don't swear.
Yeah, he's swearing and bad
racism.
memories of all the
Stop
racism
that.
he's had against him.
Yeah.
Hey, he could have. In case you're wondering, Eric is white. If you're just listening on Spotify.
I wouldn't have been aware.
This is an interracial show. And Meech isn't here, and it's even less interracial. It's even more interracial when he's here. Anyway, favorite memory in the sport, Eric. Favorite memory in the sport. That's a tough one.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, it's beach. Yeah.
Just in general?
No, it's
I don't think that's a
getting
like
silver.
a moment.
I think it was like 17 playing 18U beach nationals, and I got silver, so it was pretty sweet.
That's a good one.
Yeah, and it was. I would say I tried pretty hard. I didn't I didn't specifically do training and stuff. I just liked the sport and I played it a lot. Like, I got into it, I think the summer before or 2 summers prior, maybe just the one before. And then I was like decent at it. And then but it was mostly, I just enjoyed it. Mm-hmm. And then I found a group of guys that like wanted to play. And so, yeah, I just played a lot. And I remember actually specifically playing a lot at that Durham camp, or maybe I met people and then I played that summer with a bunch of guys I knew. We would go there like after work or whatever, and just meet up and like play beach. That's not true. I was not working until I was like, I didn't.
They were working.
Well, I had like summer jobs, like pretty chill, teaching kids sports and stuff like that. And I think that's what it was. And then after that, we would play. Right. So it was just it was just an enthusiasm. I wasn't like hitting the weights and stuff like that. I just like, I was like, yo, guys, you guys want to play? And then everyone, I don't even know how we did it, like old school phones or whatever.
That's how we did it. Yeah, same thing.
And then, it turned into this thing. I was like, oh man, I guess I'm like, I got silver. I'm like, oh, I guess I'm like good at this. And then,
exactly. That's like my grade 4 dive.
Yeah. And then I noticed the guys that were really kicking my ass. And as much as I hated losing, I was like, man, like, what are they? And I remember like wondering, what are they doing? And like, I'm watching them play, and then just like, I have nothing but like, I admired them, right?
Yeah.
So
I remember that was the summer you got arrested for stalking, right? Right? Yeah. You were like wearing their clothes.
Yeah, you imagine.
No, but that was at the summer that you got asked to do the national tryout. Yeah. You know, Sam commented on one of our videos and said, "Fun fact: Eric tried out with me when we were."
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
And I think he said something.
He said tried out with me,
or something, or he said like you.
Okay.
He said that I think you were partners or something, or played against or partners or something.
Yeah.
And then
I needed to pick a partner actually.
Yes.
Because the guy a guy I came silver with, he was too old for the program.
Right.
So yeah, I didn't really. And then I forget who Sam was playing at the time, but
there was like a rotation, and you guys have to do. I think you told me you had to. They were trying to sort out who could be partners.
It was
whom.
mostly the guys that we lost to at nationals. Basically, it was just like they were like the team A,
right?
And then they just wanted another group of guys
to see who was the best among the rest, to see who could be team 2.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. And then that's a great memory.
And just playing beach that whole summer was sweet.
Yeah, that's sort of, it's funny you mentioned that because
it's not so much single moments for me. It's like, again, like it was like that whole summer. Yeah.
the time of your life when you blossomed into
thank you.
adulthood.
Great words.
You emerged from.
I found friends. This was my first friends ever. Instead of just stalking people actually wanted to hang around.
They're not friends if you have to pay them, Eric. So yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that because I think you're right. Like those summers of beach volleyball for me, maybe I had a different answer in my head, but that's one of the answers for sure.
Yeah.
Is like making that, like having those days of like every day. So it was like 2 days every weekend we were.
When was it when you first got into beach actually?
So yeah, that's
a
later question. Okay. You're ruining it again, Eric.
Is it a later question?
Stop making it natural and organic.
Yeah,
that's the opposite of what we're trying to do here. This is a list structured. No, stop it. Stop. Edit.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway. My memory. So those days, like playing beach volleyball, like there was a certain crew of guys. And we just went out and played twos all day, all night, and it was like awesome. And then we'd go, you go home, you get showered, and then we'd go out and have fun.
Yeah,
it was good.
I mean, as amazing as indoor was, it just wasn't the same as that.
Yeah.
I mean, the summer vibe as well. Like,
yes.
Clubs
shirts off.
Top Gun,
yeah, jean pants. There's those jeans again.
Jeans again. That's what it was.
That's why I had the jeans on.
Yeah.
Actually, I think this was before Top Gun when I was playing indoor, not beach. But
well, if they ever make a Bollywood edition, then
see, there's the racism.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Bollywood. Oh, Eric, you just offended so many. Well, there could be. You know what? Actually, if anybody's watching this on YouTube and they do think they want to have, like,
oh, now you like the idea.
No, well, I'm just open. I'm just available. Anyway, so that's a good one because I like that memory because you're right. That tapped into a lot of sad funny days of beach volleyball. But the moment I was gonna go with, like one of the happiest moments, was I remember I told you that story and I mentioned this on the show before where I was struggling in first year varsity and I went back and played with my friends. Your
captain was intense.
Yeah, captain was intense, and I was younger. I don't think they knew that I was 17 when everybody else there was 19. And
I'm gonna let you finish it.
Yeah, and I went back. I went back home and I played with my friends, and they were like, "Oh my God, you're so good!" And that helped me. That came up in the last pep talk where I talked about confidence.
Yeah.
Because I was worried about externals of that team that I was on versus internal growth, and it wasn't until I went back and my friends, they could compare me to me.
Yeah,
I was comparing me to others. So that was a real tricky thing.
Yeah.
I was hurting my confidence. And so then when I came back, I remember I had more confidence, and it was in a tournament later that year that we just lost our, there we are.
Came back.
Mm-hmm.
Video.
Yeah. I lost I came back to the team, the varsity team, with some confidence. And I remember like a set that came out, like a little loop to left side. And I just cranked it. I was relaxed. I cranked it. I don't even remember, like it didn't even feel like a hard swing. And I remember the captain giving me the old like heavyweight championship belt and saying that was the hit of the tournament at the party later. He's like, no, but guys, the hit of the day.
That's sick.
Zuby, man, that was amazing. And it was like, I was like 17. So that was a cool moment for me.
Sweet.
It's sad that it's externally validated, but it was rooted in me finding out that I was improving, even though I didn't feel I was.
Well, the moment wasn't at the after party or whatever. The moment was
the hit
on the court.
That's true. Yes.
And then it's the respect you just got, or not respect or acceptance from your team, right?
Yes. Validation.
Right. Sorry, that's the word you said.
They accepted me as a man. No, sorry. And you were gonna get.
Well, you just like, I guess I made you think of something, and then that I remember a moment like that as well, where I had a noticeable improvement in skill, but because I was playing, it was my first year of varsity. I was playing against guys who were all better than me, so I didn't feel good.
Exactly.
Right. But
it's funny. Eh?
Yeah, and then finally, like I think going back, like having like a break, and then coming back, and then playing with them again. I just remember like just like jumping out of the roof, and then like I was like, what? And then I don't know. It was just a really good feeling.
Yes, it's nice to see the internal.
Yeah.
So I find it like it is tough, to be like, when you are on a team. I think players listening can relate to this. If you're ever on a team where like you don't feel like you belong there, it's really tough on the mind.
Yeah.
And that's why sometimes, even to this day, I like to go play elementary kids and just kick their butts. You know what I mean?
just stare them down.
Yeah, sometimes maybe a senior home
Just
sometimes.
stare them down.
But I'm getting there. So like some of those guys are
Yeah.
some of those guys are crafty. So but young kids, they're not crafty. They're not wily, right? These older guys are wily. So I like to kick the crap out of some young kids.
Yeah,
on the
yeah,
court
yeah.
And then just
I haven't tried that one yet.
yeah, little pre-workout drink.
Yeah.
Head over to the courts.
Another place where you can't swear. So as long as
Yeah, that's why I'm better at it. Than
Yeah.
you. But they swear, boy, do they swear. And their moms, holy smokes! Well, if they're not good enough, then why are you bringing them here, right?
I mean,
Raise the net if you want. Raise the net if you want. Anyway, okay. So favorite memory in the sport, worst memory in the sport, Eric.
well, again, I just general
Periods of life, yes.
Well, just uncomfortable that I guess I was like somewhat socially awkward because I
Yeah.
always remember going to certain volleyball things that was like, the camps.
Mm-hmm.
The camps always felt weird because I just wasn't like a super popular kid. So the most uncomfortable, like I can't remember. Yeah, there's tournaments I lost and stuff like that, but that's
that's expected though. Yeah.
Yeah, and they didn't because you tried hard and you
What
lost.
about any
and you
injury? Injuries?
Well, none. I don't really consider the injuries like a really bad.
Mm-hmm.
I did have like for 1 year.
I shouldn't have put you on the. Sorry, you were going somewhere and I interrupted, and I think I said you were going somewhere.
Yeah, no, I think it's just generally being like a teenager and then liking that sport, getting and being good at it, being invited to they did all the elite camps and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
and then and just like being the cliquiness of the sport or whatever.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, the clique. Yes, that's a good point. The
Right.
cliquiness can be. Yeah, I think a lot of people listening, kids and adults, would definitely.
But I got through it. I still met a ton of friends.
Yes,
right? And I still
yes. And it made you appreciate the ones, amid the pile of crap. That makes you really find that person that's like you. And
yeah, looking back now, I'm like, it's fine what you went through. I need to apologize to myself or whatever, or say it was okay. But yeah,
we appreciate it later. That's the thing. In the middle of it, it's awful, but you always appreciate it later, as long as you give yourself time to get.
Isn't that weird? Why I remember the uncomfortableness of social whatever interaction.
Well, I don't think it's weird. No, I think that's
funny. I think it's weird. Well, I think it's
no. I'll bet you any money.
out.
Like just as a club parent now too. Like that's what makes or breaks every kid's year now.
Yeah,
it's the social. Either if you are lucky.
That was the hardest part.
Yes,
you put me on the court, then it's easy. Then it's like I can play the sport.
But even then, sometimes your play sucks, right? Like if you're playing with the wrong person or wrong people. Like for me, my first year where I didn't feel like it's funny because there were so many. I don't know how many rookies were on my team. There were like 3 or 4 rookies, and I was the only one starting, so I should have been happy. But I was. Well, first I saw them putting me over the right side. I was like, oh.
Yeah.
And back then it was because you weren't like it wasn't like the right sides today. Back then the right sides were secondary hands, but this is before liberos. So you were there because you were secondary hands, and you wouldn't get as many balls like you would today. But I still back then the right side wasn't a compliment like it is today. There's still kids that get moved to right side and they're not happy today. But I. When you're socially that first year, I should have been more happy, I think, with it. But I went from being like, a star of the school team, like everybody, you're a star of your club team or high school team, and then you go into varsity and you have to be relegated. And I didn't feel like I belonged, so it wasn't very fun until I got that second half of that first year, and I ended up. That's not one of my happy. Like it's funny. I didn't mention the rookie. I won rookie of the year, but I didn't feel like
really.
Yeah, but I didn't.
Because it's one thing to be.
I didn't think of that as a happiest
on a
moment,
team.
though. Yeah, I didn't think of it as a big deal. Really. It's a crappy team.
That's pretty huge.
But it's a crappy team. But no, I just saw the. You were right. Like I think when you're not socially fitting in, that's why that memory of the year wasn't great for me until I started to feel confident, and it really affected my play. I'm positive, the story of going home and getting the confidence.
With your whole team.
Well, I wasn't alienated. It's just I just didn't feel good. And that like you said, the discomfort, and that makes you play worse. Like I knew that if I was sitting there with 5 friends, I knew I would have been passing, and you know what I mean. You're more relaxed. You're worried about every mistake, right?
You weren't a starter though, right?
I was a starter. Yeah, I was.
That's wise because I think I well, I didn't start, but I still played a decent amount of games, like maybe a third. But in a lot of the regard, my coach gave me the vibe of it's green light, like don't play without fear type thing. You know what I mean? I think that's what, because the skill level was so much better than me that like
you weren't supposed to be. Yeah, you weren't getting.
he was just letting me do my best to catch up,
safely,
and it worked.
Yeah,
right?
I was kind of thrown in, and I would get pulled
There's
off.
pressure on you. Yeah.
I would get pulled off, which sucked too.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. I didn't see it as a positive. I just saw like, oh shoot, I'm out here. Please don't serve me.
Yeah, I remember. Dude, that was me. 100%.
That was terrifying.
I was like, fuck
yeah.
this.
Yeah, Eric swore again.
Next episode will be
Way effing better. No, just kidding. No, but so yeah,
it is Volleyballogy UNcensored.
That's true. That's true. Worst memory in the sport. So for me, so yours is the vague, like it's just that moment, the periodic moments where that happens.
Yeah.
I guess like I had shoulder surgery when I was pretty young, like 28, 29. That kind of
That
stuff.
would
But
be-
that was past my, like I was just playing like high level.
Well,
volleyball,
how long are you out for?
a year. Like I came back
Well-
4 months. There was a big tournament that we traditionally played, but I came back as a setter. I came back at setting because I couldn't swing. And then I remember though, stupidly, odd time, someone else took second, shank. I said, don't set me. But in a game, somebody throws up the ball and I stupidly swung and
Post surgery?
post surgery, 4 months post surgery,
You weren't supposed to be swinging then?
No,
Yeah.
I think they said 6 months. But
Of course you're gonna ask for the ball. Of course you're gonna
I
hit
know. And then like a spin serve because it's a team that
it. Yeah.
Anyway, stupid though. But
Yeah.
the surgery didn't work. Bottom line, so that kind of sucked. Like I just felt like what really worked was the yoga and some exercises that we're gonna put out for players.
Yeah.
Just bulletproof your shoulder.
But I can totally see how injuries would be.
Did you ever have one? Your back was a nagging thing. Your whole
Yeah.
life.
I think from hockey actually.
Yeah.
The
Or
backs-
growth. But
Well, I think it's both actually.
Yeah,
I think it's
yeah.
the growth spurts during hockey and like a ton of it.
yeah.
It's actually pretty good now.
Yeah.
I haven't had that.
You've done a lot
issue.
of the exercises that
Yeah.
we've been sort of researching over the last few years, and we've come up with a nice bunch of stuff.
Nothing terrible though. It was I've had the IT. So right before my first year of varsity, my IT band had an issue, but that I was able to fix that. Like my mom took me physio, did all that stuff. And then I had like plantar fasciitis actually. I forgot about that. And I just had to like basically rest and take it easy and just like stretch it out. That recovered pretty quick. And then later on, shoulder went out for probably 2 months. That was pretty nasty. But again, I on those teams you have athletic therapists. You're still at practice all the time. You're well aware of its progression or its regression or its threshold, and then it just built back up, right? So
it's funny, that you and I both didn't have. So you got injured later in life. My injuries were later in life. I didn't have an injury in my playing days that was substantial either, like when you're with a real team.
yeah, it wasn't anything I ever worried about. Like I had a terrible ankle roll once, or even a shoulder thing. It was like sucked.
Do you think
but
it's
it was
because we played a lot? Like we played probably more informal volleyball than kids today. Kids, everything they do today is regulated and formal, and they even do like weight training. And, like because we
like the beach thing in the summer for one.
Yeah, beach. We played a lot of beach and informal stuff, and probably more goof around volleyball indoors even than the kids today do. Like in the school, like you do it's lunchtime with friends or whatever, right? Or after school, you'd stick around and.
Dude, I used to like play with the volleyball with my friend down the street. We would just volley and play pepper when we were like.
Because remember we had that discussion about like, is it good to rest players? Is it good to
Yeah.
I wonder too, like in this day of working out, the way we're working out. I mean, I think we're shifting now. There's a nice change in how people are talking about working out now, where it's restorative stuff versus lifting heavy.
I remember the philosophy of the St. Pierre's trainer of like playing every day, but not to that intensity, not to
exhaustion.
the max.
Yeah.
Right. So, well, we definitely. I mean, even kids nowadays who are in the club world, they likely are athletes all year round. I mean, I'm sure you don't have a kid who just plays volleyball and then like does nothing for the rest of the year. I wouldn't imagine, right? But
you know what? It's funny because a lot of it is instructional, and it's a lot of drill-based, repetitive stuff, versus
Versus
we
the
were doing a
freer.
lot of scrimmage.
Well, yeah, especially because like our high school coaches, they didn't necessarily know the sport. So I do remember Prada taking a lot of input. And there was like funner stuff. Like we would just play basketball some days.
Yes.
Right.
That's my volleyball
we did that in
team.
varsity as
Same
well.
here. We started every practice playing 3-on-3 basketball.
Tuesdays, it was sweet.
Because the national teams were doing that back
Yeah.
then. National volleyball teams were playing basketball as their warm-ups. I remember that.
Yeah. Swimming, that was actually a big one thing too, which is pretty sweet. But so what are you trying to get at? Like that?
So what I'm saying is, like, do you
we
think
played
like,
a little bit more?
well, do you think
overall?
So I think it's very rare. I think a lot of players at younger ages are having catastrophic injuries, like knee blowouts.
Oh, really?
Yeah, shoulder and knee
that was
blowouts.
that was
ankle
really
rolls.
rare.
Yeah, again, it's hard to say because there's so many more kids playing now too.
Oh,
So
yeah,
maybe
that's true.
that's true too. But I wonder though is sometimes like the regimented volleyball world and the training that's happening is just causing the more. Maybe there's. We were playing other sports. That's what it was. That's what it was, right? That's what it was. We were playing other sports.
Yeah.
We were not just doing volleyball. We were playing soccer for the bulk of our childhoods up until age 13, 14.
Well, literally until the end of high school.
So that helps stable. That's why we didn't have the injuries that other kids. Whereas kids today are specializing in volleyball at age 12.
Yeah.
And they're blowing out their knees and shoulders because they're not doing these support, like all the exercises we were doing in soccer and other sports. I played a lot of baseball too. I played a lot of what else did I do? Soccer. I skate. I played a lot of pond hockey. So I was skating all winter, like we had ponds in our property and stuff, and we used to have friends over.
I think that helps. I talked about that once. That helps a lot for volleyball because of the leg development.
Balance, the positioning.
Also ankles.
And then we did beach volleyball, which is a whole different sport, I think.
Yeah.
And then soccer, baseball. What else did I do? Tennis was later in life.
Yeah. Badminton.
Yeah. Oh, I did badminton too. You're right.
Ton
Yes.
of badminton.
Yeah. Me too. Yeah. Interesting. So those were probably our injury prevention. That's probably why.
Yeah.
We had injuries later in life, probably because we did specialize in volleyball, right? Because mine happened at 28, 29, and I was pretty much only doing volleyball, I think, around that age. Well, no, I was doing baseball.
Dude, I never had shoulder injuries until like 28.
Isn't that funny? Same age as me.
Yeah. It was like when I was younger, it was weird, like the plantar fasciitis and the IT band.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was just too much. Yeah, it was too much volleyball, and it was a type of injury where it's really just rest and stretch, right? So and then I got right back into it.
Right. Yeah, I had nagging little things like knee stuff where I had to balance out my, make sure my kneecap was sort of centered on the anterior stuff.
Really?
For quad, yeah, just to center. That was again after my playing days. That was like when I was playing in men's leagues and stuff.
Yeah.
Not
overdeveloped one side of the leg.
Yeah. So I had to develop the interior. But yeah, we're off topic.
What were you talking about?
Worst memory in the sport. Well, we talked about worst memories led to like injury talk. So favorite thing to do in the game, or your best? What do you do best, or what is your favorite thing? Either one to do in the sport. Is it blocking? Is it serving? Is it setting? Is it hitting? Is it
what else? What are
passing, band kicking, rolling out of a dig?
I mean,
it's pretty fun.
It is pretty fun. I mean, that's actually kind of tough, man.
What do you get the biggest rush out of?
Yeah, I mean,
I think the obvious answer is
spiking.
The crank.
Yeah,
right.
I just call it spiking. I haven't called them that in a while.
Spiking.
Hitting.
Yeah.
That was grade 7 talks.
Spiking.
Learn to spike the volleyball.
It is spiking.
I mean, I'm trying to like give blocking and digging
there can be a
real
rush
thing, but I mean,
monster kill block, but it's not the same.
There is a rush from it for sure.
There's a huge rush, yeah.
Not
the same or the same?
Well, no, I mean there is pretty comparable.
Mm-hmm. If it's a straight down stuff block, fun. Haven't had that feeling in a while.
I'm not blocking as nasty as I used to, but I remember getting a few. Like, I think it was we were playing against actually Mac when I was at Ryerson, and I think I got a block so big that
how big was it?
Shut up. That it went down, it hit the court, and it bounced up on our side underneath the net. It was weird.
So the other team got the point.
I got such a huge press on this dude.
Wow.
That it went
so boom and bounced up.
Yeah.
Nice. So you bent it back towards you.
Yeah.
Sweet. Good thing you didn't land on it.
No chance they could
recover. Imagine if you
it.
land on it.
Yeah.
Break your own ankle. I'm sure that's happened.
I was way up in the air.
Oh, you still hadn't landed yet.
I'm pretty sure, like, because I remember bragging about it. So I hope I'm not making that up. But
I remember as an old guy, like about in my upper 30s. In case people don't know, I'm 87. No, I'm 47. But I was like upper 30s.
People are just gonna be like, "No, they're just making this shit up."
Yeah, exactly. Maybe I was pushing. Yeah, I must have been 40, early 40s.
Yeah.
I remember I didn't play a lot, right? But there was a charity tournament that we ran for friends.
This is gonna be one of your best moments.
No.
Oh,
Sorry, no. This is
Oh,
no. I'm just talking about blocking.
Yeah.
And I remember like so I was like we were out of shape. Like we were like I was working and organizing this massive charity tournament for friends, family. His daughter actually, passed away, and we were doing a charity event for the agency that helped her because he had some developmental issues when she was born. And so I remember we were just playing on his team too, and we were all out of shape, and it was just like kind of like people were rooting for us, but it was like Rocky or Elvis near the end. Like he's just these guys are gonna get their ass kicked. We're playing a young superstars. We're
you
playing.
all smell like Lakota.
Yeah, but we took I think we split. Exactly. Yes. And farts. And we were like playing these young guys that like had a couple pro guys on the team, and I remember like I was out in left side and it was a lefty right side, all alone 1-on-1 block, and I think we took a set off them and we were battling them. Like the third set was close, and I stuff blocked him 1-on-1. I was like, yeah. He was like 25 in his prime. I'm 41. Borderline fat.
and he didn't see you there at all until you get the late block.
Well, he hit it straight down, and I was just like, but I got a nice stuff block on him, so it was good. But I acted like it was no big deal. But inside, I was like, oh yeah, I still got it. But no, I like so best moment.
What's your favorite skill?
Favorite skill. So it's got the hits. Like when there's no better feeling than when you're really loose. I think players, if you'll remember this feeling, you'll relate to this. Like when you're warm and the set's there and you just know you're gonna crank it, and especially the feeling of like, for me as a shorter outside hitter, that feeling of like that you have the blockers beat even like while you're approaching, because you can see where they're coming, and you know that you're gonna do a last minute cut or some crazy angle that they don't know, and you're already and you're just seeing it. It's really cool. That's a rush, and your full weight is in it. That's what I tell young players too. Like, I see a lot of players going through the motions, and like I see it at like even a higher level youth volleyball. I'm just like, you should be like leaning in. Yeah. Like you should be like, whenever I see a player going for second ball, I know they don't have the right mentality of a hitter, right? Because in a real team, everybody's running away from the ball. Nobody wants to touch second ball because everybody just can't wait to crank it.
Yes, that's right. I mean? Yeah.
And that's whenever I see a player do that, I'm like, what are you talking? Why are you even like your setter should be looking at you calling help, and you're still not going because you're dying to hit the ball. And so that feeling when you're just on and you're going to crank every ball, that's fun. Like a spin serve ace, fun, but not the same. It's not the same.
Yeah, like as you said, when you get to fully like lean into it, and you know like how much your body you've used. I love the ones too that it's like
you feel horizontal forward.
Just generally when I feel like my whole core and like kind of like full like swing across my body, but
and your upper body's like on top of the ball, right? You're on top of the ball, and you know that you're gonna snap a lot. That's a fun feeling.
And when it's like a crazy rally or something that's been going on, and then you're just in that one position that no one thinks the ball is going to get set to you, and you're ready, and your setter gives you the ball, and then they're so happy that you were more than ready, right? And then that's
fun to watch too. And the setter and like I love it.
I hate when the setter dishes the ball. This happens especially as we get older. Like the guys lose, whether it's just they're probably just not in the same shape, right? So they're not thinking the same, right? And then they get that sixth set and there's no block and they don't even go. Or like, oh no. And
sometimes it's just the mind gets like the body is delayed. Like I do just a lot of defending on the beach. I notice this, like I know what they're doing, but my body just doesn't go. It's like, I guess that's why boxers get hit when they get older, right? Like you could be Muhammad Ali and still get hit with a punch that 5 years ago never would have touched you. It's sad to see, right? But I do try to tell, like there are days like as an older player you can tell yourself, and it's training, right? If you're training, I think you can keep that sharper longer.
I think so.
It's definitely going to be a drop off, but that's cool. So we should say too, we shouldn't leave this without hitting for us, but we should say for our libero friends, I think there is something about a monster dig that goes like a crank.
Absolutely.
and you dig a dime. That's like That's gotta be up there.
Yeah.
Because I've done that before, and I'm just like, whoa, yeah.
I don't have a lot of those. Maybe that's why. I have a good amount, but like
I'm sure on the beach you have.
Yeah.
So like because a dime on the beach is up and in the middle, a crank that
or
you got up.
Crazy dig where like
yeah.
full body
that you
like,
shouldn't have even
extension.
gotten up.
Yeah. And then because it's beach, then you get the setback and then you crank it. That's actually so now if we're gonna be even more specific.
Yes. The dig transition.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the completion.
The only thing that compares in the indoor is like as the left side pass to like that really fast tempo, right? Like
outside.
Yeah.
Or the beach transition is fun. Like if you're on the ground. And like we used to always like, don't ever send that ball over. Like, Don't think I'm never down and out. I'm never down and out. Just set me that ball because those are the ones that you're just gonna pound. I don't think in the history of volleyball it's ever happened that player, that diving player who gets a great dig when they get up and they want that set. I remember it's funny because I commented on something indoor. This happened. Was it was Adam Johnson? AJ Adam Johnson from the AVP. So this is like at Karch's days, right? Playing against, and so he posted this video about the super long indoor rally that he had playing. Like it was like all stars, like they were all like established beach players playing an indoor event. And I remember I commented on his post when he shared it because I saw he made this amazing dig. He was left side, and then the set goes back to right side, and I said, "Oh, I could just see AJ wanted that one." And he replied, "He goes, you were right. That killed me."
Yeah,
because when you do that ball, you deserve the set.
Dude, and that's the thing. You go from beach and then you go into indoor and you do that play and you don't get the ball. You're like, oh my god, like you have like no idea that
unwritten rule of beach. You got to set your partner. Don't bump that over. Set them. And I see young teams doing that sometimes, and they think they're being smart. I'm like, no, those are the ones that your partner needs to get, because sometimes the partner's not even wanting it. I'm like, no, that's how you got to get up and hit that ball. But, all right, so that's the favorite best skill. Yeah, so I'm glad we included some digs there for liberos, because that is a rush, and you see liberos do get fired up because I get it.
It's mega deflating for the hitter too.
Oh,
holy!
Yeah, nothing worse.
I have a buddy I play against. I play against him all the time right now, in our men's leagues, and he's just nasty. He's just so good, and he's always there, and like it's super frustrating. But the funny thing is, for me, it fires me up to hit the ball at him harder in the same position. I'm like, I'm not going to lose to you this way. I'm going to keep banging it until you can't take it.
And it's funny, right? It's funny because when you're saying this, I think every outside hitter has this.
It's totally not the right way to think. By the way, you should.
Well, I don't know.
Maybe partly, but
I think it's a good way to think. You're going to beat that guy. I know what you mean. Yeah,
but
I think every outside hitter has that thought though, where like, halfway through the match, they're like, am I easy to read? because they're digging everything, and they're just getting angrier and angrier. But
the answer is yes, that you must be.
Yeah. Something. Yeah. It's good.
Yeah.
But okay. So least favorite skill or the thing you do worst.
Well, the thing I'm doing worse now is passing.
Passing. Yes.
That's the one that's I need.
And that's the toughest mentally, right? Like if you are shanking balls, it's hard to get
determines.
out.
The quality of my passing is. I don't know if it determines or like the quality of my game determines the quality of my passing, or obviously there's a connection. Like, but So it's.
I find passing to me in volleyball is a lot like a 3-pointer in basketball. You see a lot of old guys do it better. Like you ever play basketball and the old guys out there hitting threes, you're like, how the hell is he hitting threes? Because the young guys they're not cerebral enough to understand how simple it can be. And passing, I find the older I get, the easier passing becomes, because it's
the opposite for me. I feel like I was better at it younger.
Yeah, I think, but you're still at that stage where you're not like in your 40s.
Yeah, okay, good point.
Like you know what I mean? Like I think it just becomes a little.
Yeah, maybe it's still too mental for me.
Yeah, or maybe too physical. Maybe like you know what I mean? Like maybe you're still wrapped up in a lot of physicality, whereas when you're older, you're just like, And I found that passing was always pretty decent at passing, except those early, those moments where I was like not confident. Like I can see it in you sometimes when you're having a bad passing time, and I'm like, I know exactly where you are, because like just those moments where, and then your head is racing, and then you are too cerebral and. My least favorite,
do for them.
My worst skill,
struggling.
My worst skill now, like I was pretty good at blocking, but I like for a short guy. But now today, I feel like blocking is my least skill, and I almost don't even expect to block. But I've had some problems with my legs the last few years that I've been working on and fixing. So that is coming back a little bit.
That's a bit, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know
That
what's
leg
my
thing.
least favorite skill. I don't know if that's impacting that.
Well, it's just, yeah, well,
Well-
the way I just thought of it is the one I'm not doing the best at right now.
Yeah. Or what you don't like. Yeah, and it's the same thing, right? You don't like it, so therefore.
Yeah.
So for me, I guess blocking is the one. Even at my best, though, like I don't get huge. Like I love the stuff block. I love getting a great block, and that's a great feeling. But I'd still rather get I think I get more fun out of a spin serve ace, or like a great serve like shanks, are causing problems off the serve. I still
Compared to a
enjoy
block?
that. Yeah, I think so. I don't
What's
know
the-
though. I haven't done enough.
What's the one skill, like say you were flashback to your prime, what's the one skill at that time you wished you were better at?
So my prime was that grade 4
Is it
day.
always just gonna
My prime was that
Is it always just going to be hitting? No, it doesn't necessarily.
for me in my prime, what was my best skill?
No, what's the skill you wish you were better at in your prime?
Still blocking, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I don't like one thing. I hesitate to say that because I know I was a short outside hitter. But I got a lot of blocks and a lot of touches for a short guy.
Yeah.
Because I remember the day. That's funny. Speaking of which, we had a coach in high school who wasn't our volleyball coach, and he was like a super high level coach, but he couldn't coach us because he was having like family issues. Like his daughter was ill.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so he walked into the gym and he really wanted to coach us though because I don't know if he was there when you were there, Mooney.
Oh, Mooney. I was thinking Kirsten.
No, Mooney. No, not Kirsten's. No, Mooney. Mooney. Kirsten's was much later. Yeah.
Yeah.
But for like not for he was almost a few years older.
You were
I
a
was
student.
teaching when he was teaching. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was a student. This is so Mooney was like a great coach, knew everything, played high level, coached high level, and he came into our gym once when he couldn't coach us, but he just couldn't stay away, and he knew he had a good group too. He coached my brother. He knew we were like a really interesting group because we were like the junior team and we beat a very good senior team easily, and so he had trouble staying away. So he came into one of our practices and he just said, guys, when you're blocking, the only place you're looking is that hitter's shoulder. Just get in front of that hitter's shoulder when you're blocking. And I remember that day I became really good at blocking. I started blocking a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Holy smokes, it's super easy. Like now, like he said, like, he was the first guy. Again, we were like grade 9 or 10. He was like, stop looking at the ball, right? Once you just start looking at that hitter and then you jump in front of that attacking shoulder. And that was pretty cool. And I still try to remember that. I still catch myself.
Is it funny how,
like just that
it's
little
really
observation,
good,
little tweak from a guy who knows what he's doing. And so blocking, that's why blocking was okay for me.
See, though, and going back to like question, like somewhere in the top 3 or whatever, like the best moments of volleyball, those were, especially when I was younger, when that input that coach gives you and then it clicks.
Yep.
That feeling, that's, I think, not to be addicted to the sport, but that's what like, it was like, oh man, like it just fueled that hunger.
Power of a good coach, because it doesn't even have to click; it just works.
It just worked, and then you're like, oh my god, and then it feels amazing.
Yeah, that's what I find too. Is like when I do hear people saying about, well, if you say something is wrong, and I'm like, but that's where the BS meter this is where the being a player helps. Because we talk about all these things that people say all the time, and if you're a player who knows it won't work physically on the court, or it won't work because at this level it's just too fast, and that you're not going to be able to retain that. So if you learn it, you're going to have to unlearn it later. Yeah. So that's where like
you can give it a shot, but like
yeah.
At the end of the day, when the actual like whistle's blown, and then that thing turns out to just not be doesn't work
in line
doesn't
with
work.
physics.
Yeah, exactly. It just doesn't work. Yeah.
Okay, so at least so here's a quick question. Maybe we should speed these up. If you had to choose beach or indoor, had to choose one the rest of your life, what would it be? It's hard, eh?
Yeah.
Because if you pick one, then you'd instantly miss the other.
Well, yeah, it would be beach.
That's what I would say too. Yeah. There's so many, like, why would you pick beach?
Well, and just for my own health, like if I just played beach for the rest of my life, I would be in much better shape than if I played indoor. Like
cardio, the lifestyle.
Yeah, depending on like the quality, I'm sure we've ever been down to like the beaches there. You see old guys, old men and women still playing. And it's awesome, right?
Yeah, they'll play their whole lives. And that's their social life.
Yeah,
and it's cheap.
And
like you save a lot of money and you just have good friends and
so you add that on top, then there's so many positive aspects to it. except winter. But
yeah, if you don't live in a place that's year round. But if you had to pick for the rest of your life, I think I'd agree. Beach is like, there's so many things about beach. Like it's freeing. You get all those reps. You don't need a lot of people to do it. Yeah. Right. So you can go with just a group of friends and go do it. Versus if you got to go 6-on-6, it's a lot of people and everybody has to be good. And so I think I'd have to pick beach. But man, I would miss indoor too, because beach, the rhythm of indoor and beach is so cool. Because I always say this, and you say this too. I know, like right at the end of the season of beach, you're like ready to go indoor and you're ready to get those firm takeoffs and easy movements and everything. You're jumping higher.
High,
And then at the end of indoor, you're faster. Like, I can't wait for the sun. But that could be where we live too, right?
Yeah.
But if we had to pick, we both agree beach.
I'm picking beach.
Me too. Yeah.
Me too. Missing indoor, but picking beach.
Yes, we would have to if we had to. Okay, so what were your first thoughts when you first hit the beach? When you first started playing beach, if you can remember back. Do you remember how old you were?
Timing, because I was just like, what is going on with this? I want to hit the ball and I can't hit the ball. Timing on the attack and the block was just a real messed with me. So, I mean, it was what it was, and it happens to everyone who especially has this seasonal back and forth.
Did you ever want to quit when you first started beach? When you first started, do you remember being frustrated?
No, I don't think so. I found setting to be that one thing that almost would have brought up the ideas of maybe if I don't get good enough at this, I'll have to quit or something, because setting was difficult. I still like struggle, especially like going because right now I can play indoor and beach at the same time, or I am playing indoor beach at the same time. I was just playing the other day, and then like my beach hands were such bricks, and my friend actually pointed it out to me. He's like, you were just playing indoor, weren't you? And I'm like, yeah,
of course. Yeah.
He's like, yeah, because you think you don't need to, you're acting like you don't have to use your legs, but on the sand you need to like use your legs to set so much more. Yeah. So I was getting into position, and then all of a sudden I was just like setting like I would in indoor, where you don't like, you can stand up straight stability and just like fire the ball, right? Mm-hmm. Whereas I need to use everything. So that was the skill that was really intimidating, was setting. That's the one that I had to put the most time into. Okay. Because the timing, the timing thing just happens, right? Yeah, because you sink down a bit before you take off, and and it's harder to get out. It's like an automatic adaptation, whereas the setting, you have to really work on it. Yeah, I remember the first time I played beach was like late, because it wasn't a thing until I was in like university. Yeah. I mean, it was a thing. Especially I'm sure it was, but not organized as much. Here. And then, exactly, in our neck of the woods. So by the time I started playing, it was a little later. And the first time I played it, I didn't like it. I was like, I can't run fast. I can't move. I'm tired as hell. I can't jump. And then, and this is why I was getting my ass kicked. And that's the thing. It's just you're not moving, and you're like frustrated, and you're dirty, and you're sweaty. And so I remember thinking, screw this. I don't like this at all. Yeah. Oh yeah. The first time, and a few of my friends were like, "What is this? Is this even volleyball?" And that's very common with indoor players. When they start beach, they don't even think of it as volleyball. This is awful, because they come in with the indoor player's mentality of, I can't pound this, or what's the roll shots? There's only two of us. Like, so like you're like thinking, these guys aren't even swinging. Just hit it at me. Yeah, or like, why aren't they swinging? They just roll. It's kind of cheap, man. You think it's cheap what they're doing. So I didn't like it at first, and then I remember like 4 or 5 weeks in, I was like, sand legs are here. Not 4 or 5 weeks, but maybe 3 or 4 weeks. Sand legs are here, and then you're like jumping and hitting and easy chasing down the ball, reading better, reading better. Like it forces to get you out of your indoor brain where maybe you weren't used to reading as much. Yeah. And then when you go back indoor, you're so much better because you're reading. So I think that the cool thing about that is I tell players all the time, don't quit beach. If you start beach and you hate it after 3-4 weeks, I tell people your sand legs will come, and then once you get your sand legs, you'll be hooked, and then you'll be like, and then the gains pay off indoor. So. And like, hopefully you're playing on like on some nice weather days. If you're just playing it in the rain every time, that's gonna suck. I had that too. Like one of my playing in the rain is pretty rough. I was selling my daughters on beach, and we were doing some training, and they were practicing, and then their first tournament is like this freezing cold rainstorm. Like, I hate beach. I'm like, this isn't it. Just give it a chance. Give it a chance. But still play that tournament, because that's good. And then later you like to play on those days, because then it's like jumping indoor. The sand is nice and firm. And so it's a big big advantage for some teams who are.
Yeah, if the sand's packed down, it's fun. Okay. What would you... Oh, best first thought. Okay, so first thoughts when you play beach. So approach. What's your approach or philosophy to the game today? What's your approach or philosophy to the game today?
You may have to start this one.
This too shall pass.
No, I mean, training is a really big part for me right now, because so that, you remember like how we were saying that whole, as we get older, like our brain knows, like we know what to do, but then the body doesn't respond the same way. And then, like I made that mistake of out of system pipe ball, and I'm just like, I'm busy covering who I think is going to get the ball where I'm not ready myself.
Yes.
And I agree that it is a connection with how much I have or have not been training. Like if I'm feeling healthy and I'm feeling explosive, that's not going to happen. I'm going to hit that ball, right? So
your brain's different. Your mind is wanting to crank everything.
Yeah, this isn't really a philosophy. I don't know, like
staying sharp.
Well,
staying ready.
When I was last playing like competitive, it was just trying to make sure I'm fulfilling my role and like being supportive for my team, and then just doing whatever was necessary. So just focusing on what needed to be done, and just trying to like stay in that moment and not think about too far forward or too far back. I think that generally I get better at that every year. I kind of keep playing.
Mental side,
yeah, it's really fun, the mental aspect now, like playing competitive in the summer. I got to experience that level, and it was probably almost a little more intense than it even was playing indoor, because again, just two people, right? So it's just, you're really locked into it. Or maybe it's hard to remember. Like, I can't remember.
Yeah, we established that early on.
Yeah, I can't remember that all, but
no, I think you're making a few different points, but I think it's relating and summing up to the idea that if you are, the mental side of the game, right? Like you're understanding now the mental, shaking it off, having a bad memory in a sense, remembering the right things and losing the bad things. I think is sort of what you were getting at. In terms of like, don't dwell, right?
Yeah. Like there was one instance this past summer where we were playing a good team, like a nationally ranked team, right? And then all of a sudden I'm just in the moment, and I'm just I'm in the battle and so mind you, me and my beach partner we weren't in amazing shape at the time. We were good, but not at the same level as these guys, right?
You did extremely well considering you were playing not even a fraction of the time they're playing.
Yeah,
like
we're dying on the court, busting our asses off, and then the next thing I know, we're up like 16-14. Right, and I haven't been looking at the score, and then
also nice.
Yeah, and I go back and I serve, and I'm like, and all of a sudden I think to myself like, oh shit, we're up, and then
oh shoot,
we're up, and then the next thought is like, oh shoot, are we gonna blow this lead? And then so that's the moment I didn't know I wanted, because all of a sudden this really tough mental situation's in my head, and I'm at the back line, right? Do you
think it hurts you to think about the score in those moments? Or
well,
do you think no?
I was aware that it has the potential to hurt me for sure, because already my mind has locked. Normally the thought should come in and hopefully it just goes, but now the thought's in there and it's locked in there. So now my mind is off. So then, but I think I was able to just like dismiss it, because we ended up winning that set. We lost the game, but or is it game set match? Yeah. I'm playing tennis.
Yeah, I know. They do say set game too, but no, that was cool because I think I was listening to Tri Bourne talking about this on Sandcast, the beach podcast, which is an awesome one. If parents haven't heard that, they should check that out too. It's pro beach players as well. And Tri Bourne was talking about how he never looks at the scoreboard.
Really?
Ever. And so like you'll see it if you watch their matches. I've noticed this, because if you watch their matches, he frequently goes back to serve when the match is over or there's a side change.
No way.
He'll grab it and just go back all the time. He never looks at the scoreboard. And I think that's an awesome way to live.
Yeah.
I think that's a great philosophy for the game too. I was similar. Like there's times where I tell players sometimes to look at the scoreboard so they can make better decisions. Like what I mean is like for a setter, especially with a setter.
Yeah.
Sometimes I look at setters who don't look at where the blockers are. That drives me nuts. I'm like, setters, if you're listening to the show, start looking at where who's blocking and where your team has an advantage, and don't forget about your C ball, your backcourt side, because that could be if there's a weak blocker where you are, don't go, oh, we can't take advantage. No, you got a C ball there. And especially in the girl side, they don't use that enough. And then setters also, if it's crunch time, 24 all or something, and you got your hot hitter up there and you don't give them the ball, that kind of bugs me. But
so you're less likely to look at it in beach as well, because again, on a court with 5 other people, there might be talk of the score. Or
in
whatever,
beach,
right?
you don't even dictate the rallies.
No, you're too busy like just struggling.
Yeah, and a good team will dictate the rally to you. Like a good team can make sure that you can't pass this ball for an on-2 attack. Like I can dictate who's going to hit at me in beach a lot easier than indoor, right? Like you serve that player that you want to hit the ball and serve them in such a way that they can't set up an on-2 for the better hitter. So there's a lot more control going on there on the beach. But for me, my philosophy is to think long-term. So I always tell players, like, volleyball, especially when I'm talking, well, as a player myself, I enjoy being challenged. So like I just got an Achilles injury and I can't wait to train and come back. That's something that as I've aged, I've gotten better at sort of seeing everything bad as not catastrophic. You have perspective on things.
That's what injuries are great for, eh?
Yeah. They're mental training.
When we're older.
They're essentially, even when you're young, they're just mental training.
Yeah, right.
So that's one side of it. And then my bigger picture thing is like, I just have like perspective for the players I coach, or if anybody I work with, or my own kids, like just, it's a long road. Once you've been playing as long as we have, it's like there's real perspective in how important is this point. If you're just worried about messing up and not worried about what you learn from every mess up, then that's useless.
And
you know what I mean? To like, even if you lose a game or have a bad experience with a coach, you can make it meaningless by just whining and complaining or being upset, or you can make it meaningful, kind of like what we were talking about before. Like if you make some meaning in, like when that guy gave me that bad review when I was in teacher's college, like if you can turn a bad situation into something with meaning, right? Then it's okay. Then it's a great experience.
Yeah.
Whereas if you just sit around and complain about it, it's not meaningful. So I think if I were to turn that into philosophy, the idea that every point, every rally, in many ways they don't matter, but in other ways you can make them beneficial, even especially if you lose. Like I really see value in losing.
Well, yeah. So the way I'm like interpreting that is the match I was talking about from last summer is like I didn't, like, after losing, we tried really hard, and I didn't like cry at the end of the match because I know I hadn't put in the amount of effort I would have had wanted to.
You were crying during the match.
Yes, I was. Right. Because to be competitive, I know what work is required, and I hadn't been doing it. I've just been working a full-time job and doing whatever. And so,
and we talk, like I was talking with you guys quite a bit about that too.
Yeah.
Right. Like I wanted you guys to remember. I mean, I think you would have anyway, but I did want you guys to know that what you're doing here, even losing by 10 or whatever, if you did, it was a huge win.
Yeah,
against guys that are like training.
Yeah, because we're going to play against this. Yeah, because we're going to play against this summer.
Yeah, you're building something, and I just want to make sure you guys. And I don't think you would have. You guys are both older, so.
But that's kind of what I'm taking. Like as you're saying, there's like meaning in a bad situation. So like if you lose, it's just about how that loss sits with you. Yeah,
well, I mean, like, so I think winners don't see losses in the same. Like you've seen people who throw tantrums when they lose, and I learned this actually. It's funny. I learned this from a golfer. It was like, so I went golfing. I remember so early days teaching, and there was a bunch of friends would go golfing, and so I got myself some clubs and I was going golfing, and I would do I'd do what they do on TV. I'd take my warm up shots, and I saw the real golfers looking at me going, "What the hell is this guy doing?" And then I remember, so I started. The weird thing about golf is that like sometimes you can do really well your first couple times.
Yeah.
So the first couple times golfing, I was like, holy smokes,
That's
I'm
kind
good.
of true.
I think I'm good at golf.
Because you're not thinking about it.
Because you're not thinking about it. You're just hitting the ball, and you're just.
Yeah.
And then you start getting worried about technique, and you start. So like this is like
And
my
it all goes to shit.
third or fourth time golfing in my
Shoot,
life, maybe.
shoot.
Yeah. I'll go. So what happened was, I was playing with this retired. So in my group, I had two really strong golfers. One guy who golfs like all the time, and then another retired guy who golfs like every day. Okay. So I was getting frustrated, right? And he came up to me. And by the way, this guy was like a bad teacher. He wasn't a good teacher. But in this case, it kind of stuck with me for life. He said, Zuby, how many days do you golf a year? I got like 3 or 4. He goes, okay. So what are you getting angry about?
Yeah.
He said, I have the right to get angry because I golf every damn day. You come out here 3 or 4 times a year and you're getting angry. How do you expect to play?
Yeah.
So it taught me like really like a lesson. And like I was like 24. I was like, oh yeah, right. I'm insulting him. I'm insulting the game by getting angry. I'm insulting the craft.
Yeah, true.
By getting angry. I don't deserve to get angry. So that's one thing another part of the philosophy is, and this is sort of what I was getting at with you guys. Like you didn't have the right to get angry at yourselves or get disappointed by losing to these guys.
Yeah.
So you haven't put in the time.
Yeah.
And that was sort of the nice way I was saying it, and that's the way I say it to people too. Like I always tell my kids too, like, are you doing enough to get this angry or this upset? Like I see players sometimes like horrified that they're not getting playing time, and I'm like, so are you doing everything you can? Because you only have the right to feel the injustice and anger if you're doing everything you can.
And that,
right?
Yeah. And that's how, like, even if you weren't there, we're probably already like thinking that.
Yes.
Just because
I think it's because I was there.
Yeah, probably.
No, I'm just kidding.
What I was just trying to say is that, like, because in the game, I love this about Pete, is that as long as we're still in the game, he's going to try.
Yeah, very good attitude.
It didn't matter.
Yeah,
right?
He's going to work.
And that was awesome.
Yeah.
Because I remember because of my first year playing with him, I was like, oh man, is he going to be pissed after the game if we lose? And then
super
not at all.
positive. Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is.
No, but so like, and just going back to that story of that teacher, right? I same thing. It's funny. I had it there. I didn't blame that guy. I didn't get angry. I said,
that's good.
Am I doing everything? I wasn't doing enough.
How old were you then?
Well, 20, must have been like 20.
Yeah.
20, yeah. So
that's pretty good.
Yeah, it was like 22, 20. No, 21, maybe 20. And no, but it wasn't like, I didn't sit down and have this conscious thought, but I did say, like, am I doing everything? Because you don't have the right to get angry unless you're doing everything. I think that's a good philosophy to bring to volleyball too.
Yeah.
Unless you've done everything.
Well, with anything.
On anything, yeah. Unless you've done everything on your end, then you don't have the right to get angry. And that's what I think sometimes is missing in society today. I think a lot of people are getting angry without having done things.
Yeah.
And this is where I get angry when I see coaches sometimes who get angry with players and the coach hasn't done enough on their end. Like, have you been a great coach?
Yeah, it's a good central point, actually. A lot goes from there.
Yeah. So... yeah. Anyway, I learned that on the golf course. So there you go.
That's hilarious.
At least it was sort of drawn out to me because that golfing story was after that teaching placement story. So, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just wise naturally.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. I was born on a mountain in Nepal. Did I say that? Sorry, conceived. No, anyway, sorry. Kid show.
Reincarnated?
Yes. I started out as a pebble. First thoughts when you play each best volleyball advice or best volleyball advice you ever received or learned. Could be from anywhere. Could be from a YouTube video. It could be from a person you know. Was it just my last point? Perhaps that's what Eric's gonna say. Well,
shut up. I'm thinking.
Erik doesn't like to give me the satisfaction that I've made him who he is, and I can put him right back there, just like that Human League song.
It's probably just Hugh and the motivation.
Hugh?
Yeah. Hugh.
Or you?
Hugh.
Hugh. Best. So you can't think of anything specific.
No.
I know what you mean though. That guy. That guy was good.
Define it. Like he just fired you up to like try so hard.
I could watch him coach and get fired up watching him coach.
Yeah.
No, I'm serious. Yeah.
Yeah.
His voice, everything. I don't know what it was. Yeah, no.
Do I need to expand on that? I don't know. Like,
No,
he would
I
just
don't
make
think
you.
so.
He would make you try hard in every part of the game.
Yes.
Like, and I remember when I was first. That's probably my biggest jump in development, and then after that, it was first year varsity. But it's just like I learned how to like be hungry for a dig, like not let anything touch the court, like just super hungry on defense and like crazy hungry as a blocker, as an attacker, like. You know, like his one thing he always said was head on a swivel, right? Like, because I played middle at that time. So it's just like, I didn't get there that time. He's like, go, keep going. You'll get there, right?
Isn't it funny that you
Then just
keep
get
bringing
the
that
head
up?
on.
And that's one of the things that stuck with me, watching Hugh coach middles
Yeah.
and making them believe that they can get out there.
Yeah.
Like, because that's the thing. And
That's
it's funny
funny.
because I have to go in and
That's a
work
key
with a
point.
team soon. And that's what I'm going to be working on. And I always channel Hugh a little bit there. We're like, no, you're getting out there.
Yeah.
Like, you have to
You
block
will.
that ball.
Yeah.
And just that
And
belief. I tell players that
I
all the
remember
time.
fighting him on that too. I'm like, I can't. There's no way. And he's
Yes.
like, he's just, yeah. He's just like, no.
It's physically impossible.
Yeah. He's like, doesn't matter. You're gonna do it. And
Too
then
bad he didn't have YouTube back then.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because look.
Yeah, exactly. Like clearly I was wrong, but I was just mad. I was
No, but in
pissed
the
because-
drill, because I remember it, because it wasn't a real, like, he would use it with the hit the ball, get out there. Like, there wasn't time, the real time of a game, even. He was trying to make you, and that's true. It's funny, you know, because I just think about that. Like, that's a great point. Like, you know, make your practices harder than any game can be. Make it impossible for the middle blocker to get out there, but push them to get a touch, push them to get out there. And then in the game, you know how easy it is for your middle blockers to get out there because they've done the impossible.
I think we practice on a higher net too.
Yes, a lot of coaches do that. I worry about that a little bit sometimes.
But it was just like a little bit.
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
No, so did our university team.
I think it's just like an inch.
Yeah, no, same with us because I get it because then you walk. There's no better feeling walking into a tournament. And go, oh my god, the net's so low. It's like walking into beach tourney sometimes where there's sand dunes. You're like, oh my god. Like when I play with those little kids to boost my self-esteem. Same thing. I got that same rush.
You wear,
oh my god,
you wear like a tank top. Against
I'm like, oh my
like
god,
scrawny little arms.
they only have a badminton net at this daycare. I'm gonna be the top 5 player. I'm gonna be one of the top 5 players here. Okay, so what was I supposed to answer that?
Yeah, it's your turn.
Best advice you learned, received. I think, it's just accumulation of coaches. Oh, actually, you know, it's funny. I had a conversation. Just a couple of years ago, but I did have a good conversation. It was hearing a coach say something that I sort of ascribed to, and it was kind of cool. But, you know, the idea that, you know, you coach in practice and you work there. You shouldn't have to coach too much on game day. You know, then the coaches who are screaming constantly from the sidelines and the players are just distracted. That's the sign of a coach that hasn't done their job.
Yeah.
Because you should be fully prepped, right? Of course, in real high-level matches, there's going to be adaptations you're going to need to do on the fly, or like key in on someone that you maybe didn't get a chance to scout. But in just like regular rep volleyball or like high school volleyball or like, you know, youth teams, the coaches screaming on the sidelines really, that means they didn't prepare. And right? They're still screaming out instructions.
That's not their function at that tournament. Their function is to pay attention to the competition and how their strategy in preparing their team is meeting up with the competition. You can't coach in that. The coaching is done. Mm-hmm. It's done at practice. Now you're just observing the competition to see what you can do better if you lose to them. Or even if you do win, like what was the weak spots?
Yeah, if you're coaching in the game, that means you didn't coach in practice.
Yeah.
So, I mean, your practices weren't replicating the situation very well. So, and you're still teaching weirdly. I mean, I get it, early season, maybe some things, but not really. You should be jotting these things down and then organizing and addressing them in a rational, calm way. Because let's face it, players aren't going to learn too much if you're shouting while the next, the whistle blows.
They are absolutely not.
Yeah.
I hated that
Yes.
when I was younger, and just like, especially the pass up or
pass better.
Come on. Or like
pass up.
The rate,
one pass.
Just one pass.
Yeah, I can see teammates saying that stuff is like, pump each other up, but when the coach is yelling, you may as well just say, "Come on, let's win now."
I remember being angry at my coaches a lot. Now that I think about it.
Yeah, it's not
just the dumb phrases like that didn't mean.
It just adds to the chaos, and it's them trying to look. It's sometimes I think at coaches and defensive coaches. Sometimes I think they do that because they know the parents are watching, or there's an audience, and they feel like they need to do something.
But then the parents don't know the sport, then they end up thinking that that's actual coaching, and it's just not. Like
again, it's a whole lot of, I think, TV and, replicating what they see on TV. And like I told you about that time where I sat down, I didn't say a word and let my team just get their butts kicked by a team way worse than them.
Yeah.
And that was the lesson because they came to me and they're like, why didn't you take a timeout? And I'm like, so I'm saving you now?
Yeah.
Because you guys can beat these guys. I don't know what I can tell you more.
Yeah. You want to run some drills right now?
You want me to say pass better, set better, hit better?
Yeah.
What
else do you want to do?
And then they went back and they destroyed them. And I was like, I just put my hands. I was like, see, it's not me. And that was a good lesson because these were young kids. And I was like, it's not me that's playing that team. So, so the best advice was probably, that's one of them. There's so many. It's hard to narrow down.
Yeah.
I do like the idea of, if I were to say one other one about the universality of negative thinking and how it's natural and that you have to accept them. It's kind of like meditating. The people who try to meditate and tell themselves, stop thinking, never meditate. The real meditators are the ones who say, no, I'm going to have tons of thoughts. And they're going to come and go. Yeah. And that's natural. They reach the point of mastery. And it's the same with the volleyball or athletes who having negative thoughts. And if you can find them and just say, oh, wow, yeah, there's one of those negative thoughts and just say not helpful, not productive, and then just keep going. That's so much better than a player who tells themselves to stop having negative thoughts because it's literally impossible to stop having negative thoughts. It's like evolutionary. We need to have a negative thoughts.
This is kind of making me think, back to one question. I said one of those skills, what's your worst skill or whatever? Mm-hmm. Like I actually have I wish I was a better server because I remember based on just what you were saying there, just being so passive with serving as I was learning the sport. Like I didn't really learn aggression in serving.
For it, yes.
So that that's a big regret. It's just the way it just happened to me. Right. And so it's only now that I'm really, and it's hard to like catch up or train that, which is, we were talking about this the other day, just of the difference in what you're thinking back there on the serving line. Where was it with you I was talking about, or it's like, instead of thinking just get it over or whatever, it's like thinking, okay, where can I cause trouble for the other team, right? Or where can I, and so like that, just that alone, like having someone tell me that thought back when I was learning the sport, like really kind of like hammered into my head, that would have been awesome. So
that's why we're doing this, because it's still there. No, I never hear with the teams we work with, or anytime I go into a gym, I'd never hear the coach say, go back there, hammer it, cause problems, don't aim for players, aim for seams. I mean, there are coaches who do it, and they're the kids that learn that. Super rare.
That's a regret then for me. So I would.
Well, it's not your regret.
Well,
it's
right. Yeah. That's something I wish.
Yeah, you wish you had someone say it to you. And you know what? In fairness, like nobody was saying it back then. Like when you were playing, it wasn't even a thing. Because what happened was it changed so that it used to be get it over when it was rally point, when it was side out volleyball. And then in 99, it switched over to side out volleyball. Rally point. I'm getting it mixed up. Rally point is every rally is a point. Yeah. And that's when the mindset, every coach in the world should have said, okay, go back there and attack your serve. It doesn't have to be a spin serve, but it has to be an attempt at a real point because someone's going to get a point now, and it better be us. And the only time in volleyball you have a chance to really, you have the ball in your hand and full control, like everybody says, is the serve. So you may as well attack it. Spin serve, hard float, something, aim for seams, go short, deep, try to win a point. In side-out volleyball, you could send the lollipop. Because in the old days, if you were serving, that was the only way you could win a point, and the receiving team couldn't get a point.
So that's literally when I started playing the sport.
Yes.
It was right at the change of that.
And some coaches still don't know. The coaches are still saying, just get it over to the point. Rather than teaching. And the whole point of a rally point volleyball was to teach players to attack. Yeah. Even some of the other things like, triple ball, you've heard about, like that's where they toss the ball and then players can only serve once. That whole program, most coaches are like, oh, I won't teach serving because they only do it once anyway. When the idea of the program was to minimize the significance of the serve in everybody's mind so that player would learn to serve harder. Yes. And that is not down to the coaches.
They took it the other way.
Yeah, they took it the other way. It was why teach aggressive serving? We only do it once, and most of the time they're doing tossing serve receives. So no, the
How do you
idea.
screw that up?
Well, because there's no communication, but it's written there. It's written in the documents from the highest
Yeah, it's
levels.
because serves can be so potent that like.
Yeah, so teach a kid to serve really aggressively because they only get one, and you didn't. The reason why they capped it at one was so no kid would serve the whole game.
Yeah,
right.
Which used to happen.
Which happens. So, but these guys, a lot of coaches were like, "Oh, well, I guess we don't need to work on coach serving." Again, not all coaches, but some coaches.
Yeah.
Or most coaches. If you're not, then you're one of the good coaches out there. Okay, first thoughts on you. Okay, so we have to speed this up. Let's go quick. What would you tell your younger self? What would you tell your 15-year-old
I just
volleyball
answered
playing
it.
self? Yeah. Be more aggressive.
That's for the serve especially.
Yeah,
or maybe even in general, but the serve especially.
I think so too. I think that if I had that when I was a kid, it would have been so much better. Just to play with no fear. Wow. Look, you never know where you can end up.
Yeah. Big emphasis on that actually. Yeah.
I think so. I think that covers a lot of different. It also minimizes the significance of every point.
Yeah.
It does a lot of things we were talking about anyway.
You actually end up dealing with the negativity better.
Yeah, because you're just like, screw it.
Yeah.
No, that's gonna happen when I'm going for it, right? High tops or low tops?
Low tops.
Still?
Yeah.
I thought you were going through a high top phase.
No, that's already done.
Oh,
I did the high top phase. Yeah.
Yeah. Why did you switch back?
Well, right now I'm running mid cuts and low cuts, but I've been running like low cuts for I don't know, like at least 5 years now. They're definitely better, and even now I'm wishing. So I did go like the heavier basketball shoe and like the bigger cushioning, but now I'm really enjoying the light, nimble,
old school,
old school, sticky, good, agile shoes.
Yes.
It's weird. I was playing them the other day, and I'm like, "What is going on?" I just felt so much faster. It was just so
and lighter, right? The feet feel lighter. So like my story, I went to I'm never a fan of 3/4 or high tops.
Oh yeah, they're mids, right?
These are definitely they're low, but they're bulky. Bulky. And the problem was the heel was up.
They look like big squishy things.
Yeah, they look like big marshmallows on my feet. Yeah. And the heel was elevated too much. And like I said, I think that's the reason why I tore my Achilles tendon. That, and I'm fat. With a pH though.
Yeah.
With a pH, right? I'm just doing it. It's all muscle. But anyway, but I can't wait to train. I'm actually going to train this weekend for the first time. I did some training, physio, but not.
Just kind of seeing its limits and stuff.
Well, I've been sitting around a lot lately.
Eating Doritos.
Yeah, watching JFK documentaries. I'm really a conspiracy theorist. But anyway, YouTube, right?
Yeah.
So no, I'm gonna work out and get in good shape. But I see that as a challenge. I kind of like that too. So younger self, low tops for me. I like light shoes.
Yeah.
If not V-ball, then what sport?
Ooh.
Yeah,
that's way too tough. But
would it have been soccer then? Because you said you were kind of getting sick of hockey.
I was pretty good at soccer.
You're Dutch.
But no, yeah. Hey man, they haven't done well in way too long.
No, but they're a good soccer nation.
Yeah, but
they're a good volleyball nation too.
I'm probably because of playing volleyball, I would play tennis. Like we just got into the last few years.
Now, So what I'm getting, but back then. Back then. So like when you were at the crossroads, and if something happened and you couldn't play volleyball, what would you pick back then?
Soccer.
Soccer, yeah, same here. Soccer for me too.
I loved it.
Yeah, me too. Soccer was fun. I do miss. I'm actually tempted to go back and
play
like old men's league. I just gotta find a league like maybe a seniors league where they're really slow.
Back to the beating seniors.
Yeah, just
junior kids.
No, I just gotta make sure. I did go back to soccer. I did go back to soccer like fairly recently. About 6 or 7 years ago, I was playing soccer. Maybe more. It's hard to tell with COVID thrown in there. But
I'm sure you could get a coaching
tore my
role,
hamstring.
and then you could just play against the whole team.
Yeah, I could tell them about my.
Today's practice is try to get the ball off me. Just
coach the little kids. Yeah. No, I would.
You'd be exhausted.
My soccer comeback story, I'll tell people really quickly. So a few years ago, there was a local men's team, and they were like, and all my buddies who played when I was a kid are still playing. So I did play soccer in Colombia too. When I went down there to play volleyball, I played on a high level men's team. It was pretty good. I got back into it. It was good and felt great. And then, but I was young. And then, so this story, I was like upper 30s. Maybe in my 40s. I was in my 40s, early 40s.
Yeah?
Yes, because I'm 47 now, so it had to be like 41
That's
or
pretty
something.
recent, man.
It's hard to tell with COVID. Anyway, all I know is that I was in
Yeah.
pretty good shape, though. I was in
Yeah.
pretty good shape. But so I was like a little worried because I was like, okay, man, these are men's size, full size fields. So I was like, you guys have subs, right? He's like, yeah, we have subs. Don't worry about it. We have subs. And I signed up and I had to do this whole signing. It was very formal. And I got a uniform and I show up and the team is missing players. Like we don't have any subs at all. So my first game back to soccer, there was no practices. There was nothing. And I had to play the whole game. So I was like exhausted. I was killing myself. I was like sitting at, he's like, just stand here. It's okay. Just catch your breath. I'm dying and it's full field. So I played like 3 or 4 games, and every game I played, there was not enough players on this men's team. So again, 4 games in, hamstring pops.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's not surprising.
so season over because I just went from 0 to 1,000, right?
Oh,
And but I was still it felt great to do it. I just think I was running too much because I didn't get a chance to leave any games. But
wasn't that the amazing thing about soccer? Like I
can't imagine
dude,
running.
you would sprint. I know,
I know.
but you would sprint, and then you would be absolutely winded, and then you would be, the ball would be further down the field, and you're like walking and keeping position, whatever,
Yeah.
or like light jog,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden your endurance returns. Like being a kid was just
I know.
nuts. That's so crazy.
I stopped halfway up
You
the
just
stairs
go
now.
sprint again, man. It's like holy.
I know. I don't even know how I did it. Like if I had any footage.
we can do it again. We just have to train.
Yeah, I know. Of course we can.
Like you could. 100% you could.
But I think emotionally I'd be crying. I'd be crying. I'd be like,
Well,
why is the ball coming back now? I just kick it out of bounds as far as I could. Okay, well we're off topic again.
you're
So
supposed to be going fast.
if not v-ball, but we agree soccer. I think at that age, right? Toughest serve to give or receive. Let's say receive. What's the toughest serve for you to receive? Spin, float, flat, deep, lofty. Nobody says lofty.
That is tough because like a really good float serve is brutal. But then there's certain spin serves, if they hit that line, you're just not going to get it.
I played
especially if
one
you're out of
player.
position.
I played against one player who had a spin serve that I did not want to see. And it was like super fast in the seams, curved.
Yeah, awful.
It was, and this was like one of the best players in the country, and it was like,
yeah,
that was crazy.
So overall, I would rather pass of most people I come across is a spin serve.
Me too. My worst serve, I hate this, and I do this to players now that so for a few years I was having trouble when I was jumping. My legs were going numb, and I found out it was nerve entrapment, and I fixed it. But in those years where I had trouble jumping, I adopted a very flat serve, and the only reason I did that because I played against players who did this to me.
Yeah,
and it's the flat serve in their chest.
Yeah,
and it's amazing because so many players like to split hop.
Yeah.
So if you hit a flat serve that's not going out and it's in their chest, they are in serious trouble. And I even knew some players who I knew.
They end up like doing this,
It's
right?
funny. It's because I knew a player that would actually like sort of take a couple steps forward on their serve receive. So I was like, oh man, this serve will work really well against that player. So I would just, they were just chesting it over and over again.
Because they're automatically caught too high.
And I did this, so one thing, I'm kind of like a sponge. I'm a sponge for like information, right? And I knew because a player did this to me. I was like, why the hell am I getting trapped? Because they were serving me hard, flat balls. The type of ball that if you got out of the way, it was going to land. It was going to hit the back line. And if you weren't, so how I handled it though as a serve receiver, I got a little lower than usual. So I'd start there in my ready position, and as soon as they went to toss the ball, I got super low, and then it was super easy face pass. Come up and face pass. So I would make them think that I had this big awkward area in my chest. And this is when I teach young players too, right? I teach young players, remember, to get lower a little bit than expected if they're getting jammed in that weird area. So that's how I'd get a little lower after they toss it so they don't see you do it. And then that way I knew it was going to be an easy face pass come up because they were jamming me. So I like to do that flat serve. But you're right, the float serve is the worst one. Yeah. If it's a great float serve. And that's why I see a lot of girls have great jump floats now. Have you seen them?
Yeah.
Like female volleyball is like the jump float is like they serve it down and it's hard. And I see some guys don't do that as much.
Yeah, a few of them do.
Yes. A lot of guys do the short one, I find. Like I started doing this on the beach a little bit, same time when my jump was just coming back because of the leg issue. I started doing that, no foot, just a short jump float. Yeah. And those balls die. Yeah. Like, on the beach, that's the big serve these days, right?
Yeah. And the thing with that toss that some of the women are doing though is that they can even add that snap in, and then it looks you don't know what you're gonna get.
Yeah,
right? So
and it moves, and it's funny because in the back of the day, I used to watch when Karch was playing, even in the rally point days on the beach, he would do that deep loft. It looked like a lollipop, but man, he was really good at pushing players to that back line. He did a lot of spin serving too.
That's brutal.
It can be, it really gets you,
especially when he does that short seam ball or whatever.
Sometimes it looked too easy, but who are we to challenge?
Yeah, but the guys he's playing against are top athletes as well, right? Because it is a hard serve. Because
and he's
to get to that back line is very difficult.
And he's trying, and I'm sure part of his strategy was, this is a beach match.
Yes.
I'm going to tire this guy out.
Yeah.
He's going to be doing it
he's
easily.
Taking the two ball out of the equation.
Yeah, and he's also just going to wear this guy down over the course of 3 sets, right? Especially when he was older, I think, a little bit. That was a good strategy.
I mean, some guys might be able to two ball that, but it'd be very difficult.
Yeah. I mean, Lucena was very good at it because he had to be.
Yeah, because you do have more time to give a higher, but then that's definitely harder to hit that.
Yes. Well, exactly. And I don't know if he's worried about the two balls much because some of these guys were like both good hitters, but I think that he was just it looked easy on TV, but I'm sure it was a strategy to push people back, and it was tougher than it looked. Sometimes people would have trouble passing it. So again, it also probably he's thinking it gives it more time to float, because that's the thing, right? If you some of the players way back in the day, you ever watch the 80s? They would stand so far back from the line and just hit that balloon ball.
Dude, they would
white
hit
ball.
20 feet back standing float. Those
give it more time to do crazy stuff.
Yeah.
I wonder why some players should try that today a little bit. Maybe start your jump float from way further back, or do a standing float even from way further back. Because some balls, like when you ever do a backspin toss and just hammer that ball flat, and it just goes like a knuckleball.
I've never tried the backspin toss. And
I think that
was the only thing with the older balls.
Yeah, well, I learned it from I remember my captain used to do that.
I remember people doing
and toss it and just hit it flat, and the ball does a lot of crazy. But it's not a conventional toss, so.
Yeah.
Okay. So we only got a couple left.
You see that deeper standing float on the beach still.
Yes.
That's where you
especially on the good side, whatever
they're
the
back
wind's
about
doing.
10. Yeah, they're back about 10 feet, and it can be brutal.
If you're on the good side, that's amazing. With the wind in your face.
Yep.
Do you have a recollection of the biggest loss or win of your career, your volleyball life?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, first year varsity, we were the top team in the whole season. We had lost 2 matches. I think it was a 16 match season. Mm-hmm. Lost twice, and then so we were ranked first, and then going through playoffs, make it to finals. Then we lost in 5 to a team that we had beat twice in season.
Ooh,
yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah, it's really, I did get to play quite a bit that season, but for this finals match, because I was a rookie, I didn't see the court.
On a great team, yeah.
Yeah, and I know the guy, the left side that we're playing, they were just not having it just wasn't a good game for them. So it was tough for me because I wanted to play so badly, and in my mind I think I could have done some damage, but and then the guys on the court took it pretty hard too. They were, they were really upset, but yeah.
That was the championship?
Yeah, it was finals. Finals.
Yeah, that sucks. For me, it's funny. There's a few times in our when I was playing in Columbia, I remember there were some men's events that matches that we shouldn't have won that we won, and that was kind of cool. But I still think one of the biggest ones that sucked for me was we had a match in university where it was us against another school, and the winner of this match would get to move into another division permanently. Remember, I think I told you this? Yeah. So this was moving from a smaller, organization to another, and it was the two top schools that had the chance to go, and we had this 5-setter against. Well, I was actually one of your old teams. Yeah. 4. Yeah. When you were maybe in the womb. I don't know. Yeah. No, it wasn't. You were a child.
5 or something.
Yeah. And we lost the 5-setter, and I had a broken finger. So I knew I was playing, but I had a splint on or something. And I barely remember. I just remember we lost.
It up.
Yeah, I remember we lost, and it was crap. And then we went out to Toronto. We were out, and we had parties and went to the bars and stuff. But that was a pretty crappy one because that changed the course of history. For
that team,
for that university. The other university went on to amazing things.
Yeah, that's funny.
And this university just now, recently, a couple of years ago, made that switch over. But we were the group, and they don't even know that's just funny because when I go to the alumni games or when I went, they don't even know that happened.
Yeah.
It's there was no that sort of
good story.
Well, it's sort of like part of the thing about that school was that they weren't funding volleyball.
Yeah.
There were no record. Like, they didn't even know there was a team back then.
It's not a big school, man.
No, it's not.
like-
No, but it's coming along. It's kind of interesting. Like, they've had some pretty big. Like, last year was surprising what happened. Some of the games that were going on. Like, their records, were better than some other big schools, especially on the women's side too. Like, they were ahead of Ryerson last year.
Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and now the recruiting is like getting. I mean, like anything, it's just you got to start somewhere, and then over time, like even your by the time you got to your school, they were nothing.
Exactly.
Before, and then they built up into one of the best. So that's what it is, right? Just time and exposure. So yeah, that was probably it. That Toronto. It was fun though. It was good. It was good atmosphere and vibe. Like that was kind of like, you were playing for something really big there, right?
Yeah.
You're talking about changing the whole.
Yeah. That is.
And to lose it in 5 really sucked. But again, I was 17 at the time. It was like that first year.
Losing in 5.
Yeah. But it was the first. It felt like a really interesting thing to be part of, and it's one of the few. Like, I don't have a lot. Like, it's funny that I don't have a ton of recollection of individual university moments. It's funny.
Yeah, like exactly. That match wasn't too painful for me because I was a rookie on that team. I didn't get to play that match, so I can't take it too personally. But I just remember it being really rough for the team, and like they just didn't play at the level that they had been all season. So, but that happens, right? Like that's, like a coach's role is to get your team to peak at that in playoffs. Yeah, and I don't think it was the coach's fault either. I don't think so.
Yeah, actually, it's funny. Just speaking of that, I did have a nice transition. In my last year, I did get to play at a different university, and it was funny to go to that. Like, there was a much bigger, organized, and just to see the difference in a real program versus a small program that was getting started. So that was kind of cool. Even though the coach was like, yeah. But anyway,
that would be really cool because that school has come a long, long way. Yeah, big time.
Yeah. And so it was cool. Biggest win last year career. Okay, what's your funniest volleyball story? Anything you can think of, or best story?
I don't know. I'm gonna need a minute here. I should have pre-thought about these ones.
No, but it's tricky. Yeah, I mean, it's funny because you don't know what best means. Like, I mean, we talked about that guy on my team that. The guy that never played and then became our best player. That was kind of cool to see. There's a funny story that I heard that it didn't happen to me, but it was like one of the funniest stories.
Oh, no.
Team Van, actually Dauber told me this, a coach we know, who's like a local legend volleyball coach. He said that they were driving to some tournament somewhere in Ottawa, or to Ottawa, I think it was. And, the outside hitter, because we were talking about how outside hitters are always pissed and they never think they get enough sets. So if you're that hitter, if you're a hitter, outside hitter, you're not. Every outside hitter gets pissed at their setter because they think they never get the ball enough, even though they probably get the most sets. If they do get the sets, they're never in the right place.
They never get the good sets.
They're never in the right place.
Those don't count. Yeah.
So this story Dauber told me was that they were driving to Ottawa. The setter was driving and Dauber was looking away or something, doing something. And he turned back and the outside hitter had a knife at the setter's throat, demanding more sets.
What?
Yes. I know. This must be in the 80s, right? But there were no rules in the 80s. So, yeah, the outside hitter was threatening the setter
while driving.
While the setter was driving. I mean, it's not funny, but it's funny because it's so insane, right?
Was it like a serious prank?
I don't think it was a prank. I think the outside hitter was that angry that he was threatening to murder the setter. Violence is not the answer, folks.
Holy shit.
I wonder if the setter ever set him again. Or either that or the setter set him every ball. Don't do that.
Holy shit.
Don't be like that guy.
Yeah.
And that was like Dauber, like the guy telling me it was like laughing his ass off. And he saw it. So like, if I saw it, I don't think he'd be laughing. I'm just laughing because I've been laughing at him laughing. That's what it is. I'm not sick mentally.
Okay, so
that's not my story though. I don't know if I have a funnier. I mean, I'm sure there's so many. It's hard to.
Yeah, it's really hard to think of.
Narrow down.
I don't know. I can just think of like an embarrassing story where like I playing in varsity and we just like we literally went and partied before our game.
Oh shoot, I have a better one. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Mind you, it was the team that I shouldn't say I hated playing against them the most, but they were the worst in terms of
jerks.
yeah, just like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever we played against them, we never lost against them. I think we lost them against them in tournaments, but not in like season or whatever. So like the home games at their gym was always pretty ridiculous. Like the crowd would come out and just be like,
Right.
like offside.
Yes, I hate that.
I'm not the best at dealing with shit like that. And the one player
stuff like that.
Stuff like that. Damn. Darn. Man, I'm usually pretty good, and there's one player in particular who I feel like he hated me in particular, but I'm pretty sure he just treated everyone like that, or everyone who like I don't know.
Well, he knew that you were the key to upset. That's a compliment.
So, and I remember this guy like, what did he? I think one time. So I think I was left side, he was right side basically, and then I think one time he goes up, he thinks I got to block up, and he thinks he's tooled me, like so it hits me, and he thinks he's won the point, right? He's just like, yeah, exactly, right?
Good for you.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh darn, I guess I lost the point, but then sure enough, the ball like goes over on their side and like lands in.
Oh, it's still in the air. The ball was still in the air.
Yeah, the ball's still in the air. So we thought
interesting.
and then it lands in, and then it's like it's my point. I'm like, well, and I'm just like, what? Did this guy really just call me that? And it was weird because sorry. And I was out all night partying, so like I literally hadn't slept. I mean, right. It was bad. It was embarrassing.
No, but that's what happens. Yeah.
Yeah, and then so I'm trying to get my stuff together for this game.
Poop. You can say poop.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure I drank like 2 Red Bulls. It was again not good, and like it was not good for my body. But I ended up having a pretty good game and like racked up like I don't know like 25 kills or something.
Despite the horrible nutritional choices.
Yes, and like my body was hating me.
Probably could have been better if you just say yes.
Well, yes, it would have been way better. Yeah. So I don't know. That's like it was just. I guess it was a bad story because like I was just bad choices by me, and like I hated playing against this team, mostly just this one guy. No, it was the whole team, man. They were pretty bad.
So you guys lost?
No, we beat them.
Oh, you did win. So that's why it's
so
is this your funniest story or best story?
I'm just trying to think of something.
You're trying to think. Okay, I got a good one. I have a good one.
Okay,
this is funny. So beach volleyball tournament, men's twos, 2-day tournament. Super hot day one.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I don't want to know where this is going.
No. Like it's just like super hot, like 40 degrees Celsius. It's like close to 100 Fahrenheit, and I'm like sitting around with this bag of cherries, and I'm just eating cherries, and all day everybody's like, "Oh, Zuby and his bag of cherries," and I'm offering friends. You want cherry? I just sort of recently rediscovered that I love cherry. I forgot about cherries, and I was eating all these cherries.
Yeah.
Forgetting the fiber in content in cherries, right? So it's super hot day one of a tournament, and I wake up day 2 after eating this bag of cherries. And again, all day, remember people are like, "Oh, Zuby and his cherries." Hey, Zuby. Oh, of course you have your bag of cherries, Zuby. We are like, ha ha ha. I wake up on day 2. It's already like super hot at like 6 a.m. And I have diarrhea.
I thought I was gonna go the other way.
So day two of a very hot weekend, men's twos. It's blistering hot, and I have diarrhea at 6 in the morning before the first game begins. So I'm like trying to drink. I'm trying to drink electrolytes, and I'm trying to play.
That would be so awful.
And then so we're doing well, but I'm like cramping all day, and I'm hydrating as best I can, and everybody's laughing at me now because I'm like, the cherries, right? And then sure enough, we make it to the semis, and it's the third set, and I'm just like, not only am I cramping, but I'm exhausted. Because when you're dehydrated, you're like out of breath over everything. Yeah. So I go back and I'm spin serving. I get like 4 aces in a row, shanks points in a row, right? And I look at the ref. I go, timeout. I call a timeout on myself, and my partner comes up to me and he's like, "Are you all right?" He goes, "I think I'm dying. I think I'm having a heart attack because my chest was cramping." And it felt like I was having a heart attack. If you ever had chest cramps, feeling. Yeah. And then I was looking at my hands, and they were like bent. Yeah. Because I was so dehydrated, my hands weren't straightening out. So then we lost, obviously, that third set. And then my beach partner had to drive home because I drove the car, right? And I'm sitting in the passenger seat all crumpled up like this, cramping. And then I remember he pulled over. I think it was Taco Bell or something. And I just got like a bottle of water and a Sprite. I don't know why. But it's funny. They were talking about sugar, cravings. Yeah. And so I was slowly sipping on the Sprite on the way home and had the bottle of water. And that's my funniest beach story ever, because everybody all weekend was like, Zuby and his cherries. I was like bragging about how cherries are good. I was telling every player, I go, do you ever have good cherries? How cherries are so delicious. I can't stop eating cherries. And then I forgot about the fiber.
You're right.
Fiber content and diarrhea first thing in the morning. Next morning I was like, oh, it's going to be a long day.
The cramps are by far the worst on the beach.
Oh my God. You just can't fix it.
Yeah.
Right? It's like you can't repair it.
I don't think I've ever, it's always been when I get home that I get them, but whenever I see other people have them, it's just like, so I'm like, oh man, that does not look good.
No, it's the worst. It happened to me a little bit. Like I had hydration issues like my whole beach career. I always had migraines at the end of tournaments. And so
I usually get it, like I'll be noticeably dehydrated after. So actually it'll happen with indoor. And again, the amount of training I did beforehand and what I've been eating leading up to it was typically a big factor. I would always notice it in my lips. My lips would be dry. I'm like, oh great, here it comes. And I know that's just like the early sign of dehydration. And it takes like,
if you get the neon yellow pea, you're toast.
Yeah. It takes like 5 days to like fully recover from that.
Yeah, so it's crazy. But anyway, let's finish this up.
Okay, so no cherries.
A long episode.
Cherries.
Cherries in moderation. It's the lesson for everybody there. So your entire volleyball career had a theme song.
Oh,
Eric, what would it be?
Wow.
Climb every mountain.
Do you have an idea of what your song is? Like,
I don't know. I think that. I think Bittersweet Symphony.
Oh yeah, Bittersweet Symphony. Yeah.
I think I don't know. I just love that song. And
I'm thinking,
plus, volleyball is like points. You win, lose, no big deal. It's all part of the. So I don't get wound up over losing anymore.
I'm thinking maybe Mbop.
That's the second time. We're only 19 or 20 episodes in, and you mentioned the Hanson brothers twice.
Have I mentioned them?
Well, you mentioned Mbop earlier. Yes,
yeah.
The show
Comes to mind.
Something about it was some trauma there with the Hanson.
Oh, was there?
No. I mean, with you, that's your high school jam, right? That's when you were in your.
Yeah, maybe it's some. Maybe it's the Manchurian Candidate. I've been like conditioned.
Don't get us started on YouTube.
It's such a good cheery song.
So why is it?
There's no connection. It popped into my head.
It bopped into your head. Yeah. Okay, so.
That's pretty bad.
Eye of the Tiger. You couldn't even just say Eye of the Tiger.
Well, I was gonna say Danger Zone actually.
Oh, Danger Zone.
Is
that because of the beach volleyball scene, or is that something in the not because there's nothing in those lyrics that makes
I'm the danger zone.
You're the danger zone.
I'm the danger zone.
Highway to the danger zone.
No, it's welcome to the danger zone.
Well, it's highway to. I know. I used to think he said I went.
Thought it was welcome.
I used to think he used to say I went to the danger zone. But it's highway to the danger zone.
Okay, well,
see, you don't even know the words.
Look, I'm the danger zone. That's it.
You are the danger zone.
Yeah.
Especially when you fart.
Hey, just don't give me cherries. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, sure. Danger zone. Anyway, we'll wrap that up. See you next time, folks. That was 20 questions.
Enjoyed it.
Yeah, I hope you enjoyed listening to this. If you stuck around for the full 2 hours and 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Right.
What?
That's
way
too
long.
Way too long.
Let us know if you have any other questions, if we could have made it longer. We might use this. We will. We're going to start
with other people. Maybe,
questions. Yeah.
Who knows? All right. See you later. See ya.
What's the big idea?